Good evening and welcome to the July 2nd, 2026 meeting of the Town of Southampton Zoning Board of Appeals. This meeting is being held live and also via video conferencing on the Town Clerk's page on the Town of Southampton website. For those of you online who wish to view tonight's meeting only and not participate, don't join the Zoom meeting. If you're having difficulties accessing the hearing in either case, visit the Town Clerk's meeting portal and click on the instructions link. With that, I'd ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you're here with us tonight, please silence your cell phones and refrain from speaking to one another as it interferes with the recording of our proceedings. In case of an emergency evacuation, please exit through the rear doors of this room to one of the staircases across the hall, continue downstairs and out through the main entrance. Do not attempt to use the elevators during an emergency evacuation. In case of a medical emergency, the automated external defibrillator and first aid kit are located in the hallway on this floor opposite the elevator. Restrooms are located across the hall from this room. As a reminder, applicants, agents, and members of the public speaking other than attorneys will be sworn in and state their address for the record and offer their testimony as it relates to the application before the board. In order to consider properly every application before us tonight, individuals commenting on a particular application will have a time limit of 3 minutes. I want to emphasize we welcome comments, but we adhere to a time limit in order to accommodate all interested in speaking on any application this evening. Written comments on any application are also welcome. Please address these comments to the members of the board and send via email, mail, and/or dropped off at Town Hall to the board secretary, Candace Cowell, in the building department. At this time, I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of our June 4th, 2026 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Ms. Macedonio?
Aye.
Mr. Redmond?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Before we proceed with the agenda tonight, I'd like to take a minute to recognize Katie Galvin. Tonight will be her last night that she'll be sitting at the far end of the table for our meeting. Katie's not leaving the town attorney's office, but will be assuming other primary responsibilities. Her replacement is a fellow attorney in the office, Mark McRedmond. And for the past 16 years, Katie has served as counsel to the ZBA. Her guidance, thoughtful advice, insights, and wealth of knowledge have been a constant source of support for me personally, as well as for the board, the building department, and members of the land use community. Her contribution has been extraordinary. Luckily for us, Katie is not leaving the town attorney's office, so she'll be available to help transition Mark in his new role as counsel to the ZBA and be available for consultation as needed. I hope, and I know you will all join me in wishing Katie well in her new role and wishing Mark good luck in his.
Here, here.
We have a full agenda tonight, so I feel we need to proceed, but I want you to know, Katie, I'm sure other board members will reach out to you and people from the community to individually express their appreciation for your hard work and commitment to the
Thank you. That has
ZBA.
been an honor. I mean, I don't say that lightly, and I don't step down lightly, but I do. When the board was handed to me, I thought, I'm so lucky. I'm going to learn this. I'm going to learn the town code. I'm going to sit with this great board, and it's time for somebody else to have that honor.
Okay, well, thanks again, Katie, for everything you've done. John, would you like to take us through the agenda?
Sure. Turning to number 9 on the agenda, application of Lorenzo Cavallaro, 2 Mill Pond Road, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-321-1-17. This application has been withdrawn. Turning to number 12 on the agenda, application of Wilderness Trail JV LLC, landlocked North Sea, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-79-1-33. I move to adjourn the continued hearing on this application to September 17th.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Ms. Mastonia.
Aye.
Mr. Redhand.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Number 13 on the agenda, application of Miyako LLC, Henrico LLC, and 61 BHSH Turnpike LLC, 55 and 61 Bridgehampton Sag Harbor Turnpike, Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-71-3-8.1, 5.5, and 5.4. I move to adjourn the hearing on this application to September 3rd.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Ms. Mastonia.
Aye.
Mr. Redhand.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
On the decision calendar, decision in the application of John J. McKenna Jr., 40 Chestnut Street, Noyak, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-5-5-41. I move to reopen the hearing on this application.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Mastonia.
Aye.
Mr. Redhand.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
I move to close the hearing on the application of John J. McKenna Jr. for decision later tonight.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Ms. Mastonia.
Aye.
Mr. Redhand.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Decision in the application of Carter and Sloan Simpson, 28 Robbins Lane, North Sea, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-62-1-11. I move to adjourn the decision on this application to July 16th.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
What?
I'm sorry. Was there a, Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Mastonia.
Aye.
Mr. Redhand.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Decision in the application of Alex Demeron Demir Revocable Trust, 6423, 31 Rampasture Road, Hampton Bay, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-293-3-12. I move to adjourn the decision on this application to July 16th.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Ms. Mastonia.
Aye.
Mr. Redhand.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Finally, the decision in the application of David Dunaway, 149 Big Fresh Pond, North Sea, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-94-3-26.2. I move to adjourn the decision on this application to July 16th.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane. Mr. Mastonia.
Aye.
Mr. Redhand.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Number-
Okay.
Turning to number 1 on the agenda, application of Christopher Jotland, 61 Middle Pond Road, Shinnecock Hills, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-234-1-8.3. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for a proposed one-family dwelling. 1, Section 330-6, General Regulations that references Section 330-11, Residence District's Table of Dimensional Regulations for total side yards from 45 feet to 34.57 feet, a minimum side yard setback from 20 feet to 15 feet, a rear yard setback from 60 feet to 42.75 feet, and 2, Section 330-84D, pyramid height for a sky plane encroachment to the west of 1,826 cubic feet and to the east of 220 cubic feet. In addition, applicant requests relief from Town Code Section 330-84D for a sky plane encroachment to the north of 1,074 cubic feet for a proposed detached garage on a non-conforming lot and any other relief necessary.
Is there anybody here representing this applicant? Please come up. Are you an attorney?
No,
All right, let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Wayne Fiotland, 11 Alita Place, Ramsey, New Jersey.
Okay, Wayne, do you want to tell us about this application?
Sure. Like I said, my name is Wayne Fiotland. I'm Christopher Fiotland's father and Cecilia Caldera's father-in-law. Christopher and Cecilia purchased the home with the intent to rebuild. You know, the existing house is kind of a jar on the property, so we really couldn't utilize any of the existing construction. So my wife and myself, we developed architectural drawings to prepare, you know, for a nice 4-bedroom house. And unfortunately, with the non-conforming lot, there is, you know, issues with the pyramid law and the setbacks. And we're primarily looking for relief on. You know, the house, we feel, is going to be an asset to the neighborhood, you know, conforming to the neighboring homes. And the adjacent property at 63 Middle Pond Road is the same exact size lot. It was subdivided, and they built that house about the same footprint of a home. It looks like it's a higher house. We're just trying to, you know, match the architecture, maintain the Hamptons type of architecture.
Kevin, this is yours, and
It is.
I'm going to let you start us off.
Okay. So
I did go to the site, I went to the neighborhood, and, it's an interesting neighborhood. It's sort of in between new houses that have been built from the original neighborhood, where the houses were much smaller and more modest in size, corresponding to the modest-sized lots. And, to cut to the chase, my immediate reaction was, this house is too big, and the garage is too big for the pyramid relief you're requesting for the size of the lot. And I agree, your neighbor immediately to the, what would that be, the west?
West.
Something happened there, I don't know when. Okay, and they got some likely pyramid relief, but it would be good for us to know, what that relief was. Our obligation is to grant the minimum relief necessary, and in doing so, it's like, and also, taking into consideration the character of the neighborhood. So I know you have 9-foot ceilings, right, in both floors?
Right.
I'd like to ask you to consider modifications that would result in the pyramid relief being reduced. And I'm not a builder, somebody else on the board is, and they probably understand your pyramid relief request with respect to the garage and the necessity of somehow connecting that to the house. But, it's a lot of pyramid relief just for a garage. So if you could think about reconfiguring that or thinking about how to design that any differently, that I'd ask you to consider that, and I would feel better about moving forward that way. About a third of the total pyramid relief is the garage. Take your time. No hurry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the idea for that was to just have some upstairs storage, and because the garage with the 10-foot setback, that garage only has 8-foot ceilings. So there's not much I could do there, but I was just trying to maintain, some storage above the garage.
I get the challenge. Maybe you can lose some of the pitch on the roof if that.
Yeah, but it's the end wall, so, the pitch on the roof will be minimal, square foot, cubic footage,
You don't want a house designed by me, but the message I'm conveying is, I think, I don't know how the rest of my colleagues feel. I just think there's a mass issue here, which is, do you know if this is bigger than your neighbor's house, the immediate one to the west?
The footprint of the house?
Well, yeah,
The footprint of the house is almost identical.
okay.
And, the reason why
And
we're,
this will be taller, right?
no, I don't believe so. 65 Middletown has 10-foot ceilings
Okay.
for both floors. But the
We don't
reason,
know what kind of pyramid relief they got,
no, I don't.
right? So,
I don't.
so it'd be helpful for you to show, are there other houses immediately nearby? What pyramid relief they got, and how yours fits in the reasonableness of a same request, a similar request.
Understood. But the house 63, which is directly to the west, is a much higher elevation too, so it almost like dwarfs this property.
We're not,
Why I was hoping-
Did you pick up on the elevation change?
I have to confess, I did not, so I didn't notice the topography.
They're not, we're just in the flood zone right in that area, and the house to the west 63 is significantly out of the flood zone. They were up to like elevation.
Yeah, I might have missed that.
13. And the rear yard, the adjoining property, seems like it's on like about 2 acres, and the house is set back about 100 yards from the rear property line. That's why I was hoping that larger pyramid relief in the rear would be somewhat insignificant, because it wasn't encroaching on a neighbor per se, because of, there's a tennis court about 20 yards back.
There's no homes directly
No homes
behind.
directly behind, and then there's a wooded lot to the east of the property. The neighbor to the east. It's all wooded lot. That's why I figured that, or, I was hoping that it wasn't that big of an issue, because it's not directly next to a house that's 15 foot off the property line as well.
I take the point. Go ahead.
No, I'm just thinking that.
No,
understands.
that's not to say someone won't be there. And then in the past, there are issues about, you got a 15-foot setback, there's windows, and you're looking into somebody else's yard, right? And somebody has a pool, then they're all upset about who's looking in their yard. No concern of yours right now, but we've heard those arguments. So we're mindful of setbacks and
Oh, no,
and
understood.
placement of
Yeah,
windows and
100%.
pyramid relief and how that enables that.
Right.
So also in the ordinance, in the zoning code, there's a 5-part test right in the code. And it's a 5-part test that an applicant has to demonstrate to the satisfaction of the board that that you can meet. And one of the issues is consistency with the neighborhood, and one of the issues is if you came in with a request that was similar to other pyramid relief granted, that would be a compelling consideration for us to take into account. If nobody else had that relief and you came in and asked for it, you would be in, I would say, a slightly more disadvantaged position.
Yeah, no, understood. Because I recently renovated a home around the corner on Far Pond Road, and it was done about 5 years ago, and I was in front of the board, and it had about, I don't remember the cubic footage, but it was a significant pyramid relief.
Yep.
And non-conforming lot, everything else, and,
You have to show that,
okay.
and it has to be relevant to, there are people that'll show us a pyramid relief a quarter of a mile away. It's not really relevant, right?
Understood, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking, what's it like if you're riding a bike, walking a stroller with a baby, and, some in the neighborhood is small modest homes, which is the origin of the neighborhood, and others are bigger and overpowering, and someone says, who allowed that to happen?
No, I get it. And that's why we were looking at the houses to the west and looking at it and saying that we're not dwarfing them. We're actually a lot more modest in those homes, a lot smaller. And, and then
Can I ask a
as
couple
the older.
questions? I wanted to add, you said that you've got a breezeway between the house and the garage. Is that necessary? I mean, if you pulled the garage back closer to the house, would that eliminate some of the pyramid issue?
That would.
I mean, would that be something you might consider?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I think
That's
that's,
a good solution.
This isn't unsolvable, you just have to do a little more work, unfortunately. And I don't say that lightly.
no, and I think we appreciate the fact that, that you're trying to be sensitive to the issue of pyramid and everything else, but we're trying to come up with some possibilities for reducing the pyramid relief, and that would be the one I would definitely look at.
Most of the garage pyramids.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
would,
it was a significant amount of it. So then the balance as is for the house, how does that stand with you
I
guys?
would
Is
lower,
that
at least
acceptable?
try to lower the upstairs to an 8-foot ceiling.
8-foot ceiling, yeah.
Lower the pitch, and you're gonna have to
Can't
do
really-
something there.
Right.
You'd be better off lowering the house than the pitch.
Yeah.
well, I mean, we're giving you some considerations that you can go back and look at and see what, what you can do, but definitely, I would definitely move the garage to the house. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think that would
Yeah,
be a big part of his.
Yeah. Now, one of the comments from the building department was that, you're asking for a lot of setback relief, but if in fact you can demonstrate single and separate ownership, there's a
did.
different, and you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you provided a lot of information. The one thing I didn't see, though, is when we look at the single and separate, we like to see that there are separate tax bills from your neighbors. So in other words, that you've got your single, between you and 63, that there are tax bills directly for 63 and tax bills directly for 61. I assume there was no crossover uses, which, you can say there were no crossover uses and demonstrated, and whether one property was used to mortgage, to cover a mortgage for both. Okay, so that's kind of the things we looked at, in addition to the very extensive abstract that you provided us with. Katie, I'm sure you took a look at
I
that.
did, yeah. I mean, I think it would help to have those things for the file, but I also was, because I looked at the single and separate search as well. But I also, the period of common ownership looked like it was a couple years after the ZBA had granted a subdivision. And I kind of thought it wasn't really fatal to the analysis because it didn't really, like now we kind of say, separate these lots within a year or 6 months, and it didn't really say, you know, it
Right.
didn't really have that kind of time restriction. So, I mean, if you can find tax bills from that period of time, I think it was up until 2002.
Separate tax bills for 63 and 61, that would go a long way.
I think it would help, but I don't, if you can't find them, I think it's okay, because like I said, I think
Okay.
because there was no time restriction, ultimately, they were separated in 2002. So, like I said, I think it helps if you can find something during that period that there were separate tax bills for the file.
Because then I think some of your setback relief would not be necessary, because of the 4/10 rule, which says that the width of the lot, you do 4/10, and then you,
Yeah, I mean, that's something that your surveyor can calculate for you if you talk to the building department. It may reduce or eliminate some of the setbacks.
yeah. So, you know,
And they're
we'd
not
like,
that
we don't want to grant a variance for something we don't need to grant a variance for. If you don't need it, we don't want to grant it.
Okay.
And you should be able to, yeah, so your surveyor should be able to make those calculations. Any other comments
I
from?
agree with the comments
I
that have
think
been
that he
made.
can do a lot.
Okay, so the way I look at it, to summarize, I'm trying to look at some reduction in the main building, main house, elimination of the breezeway, and provision of the new a surveyor to take a look at the tax bills, and then, you know, for him to come
And
up
the
with a
surveyor can do
calculation.
that when you're deciding if you can move the garage.
Yeah.
The target is managed for, the less relief you're asking for, the easier it is to give you the relief you're asking for.
Yeah, no, and I think, you know, you seem that you appreciate that, so, you know,
I do,
Yeah.
I do appreciate that.
and as Kevin says, if there is evidence of other places close by that have been granted pyramid relief, that would be another piece of helpful information.
How do I get that information?
Building department.
Building department.
A
If he has
FOIL.
the addresses, it'd be FOIL.
Yeah, if you have addresses, you could FOIL them. Candace can give you some instruction on how to do that. She's our genius for this stuff.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah, I know, she is. All right, don't let it go to her head. Okay. Okay, so I think, this looks to me like maybe,
Comments?
yes, but
Oh.
yeah, but I think there's some work to be involved, so in terms of, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me.
Okay.
Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on 61 Middle Pond Road? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 61 Middle Pond Road?
We have one person on Zoom coming on.
Okay, thank you.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear us?
We see you.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Are either of you attorneys?
No.
No.
Okay, so let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Please state your name separately and your address.
So we are the owners of the house. My name's Cecilia Caldera.
I'm Christopher Fieltland.
Unfortunately, we couldn't be there because of a work commitment that I had, but I did want to just say that, you know, we are here and we are listening to what you're saying. And so we're grateful for your feedback. And, you know, we're very conscientious too about not creating any larger of a footprint. We've looked extensively at the neighborhood, both the houses to the west, like my father-in-law has said, as well as new construction that has actually happened just down the road as well in terms of larger homes. And there are certainly homes that have also been renovated in the neighborhood. So, you know, we've taken a lot of time to be quite considerate about our designs and our plans. So we just wanted to thank you for our time and let you all know that we're also actively present and really invested in this as well.
Okay, I appreciate that, and your father-in-law's doing a good job, so.
Oh, good. We were all very nervous.
Could you spell your names for Candace, for the
Well, I have
record?
Christopher's name, let's do her first and last name.
Oh, your first and last name, not Christopher.
My first name is Cecilia, Cecilia. My last name is Caldera, Caldeira.
Thank you.
And
Okay, thank you very much.
thank you.
All right, So what do you think?
How much time would you need to do some of the exercises that we just discussed?
I'm just not familiar with the, with getting the tax bills and getting the FOIL information. The drawings, I prepared the drawings myself.
Right,
so
okay.
That and the survey I can take care of pretty quick.
What's the soonest we can get?
Can't, we can adjourn.
You can always adjourn.
Do a
That's
subsequent.
true. That's true.
Okay,
All right,
you wanna
so,
Make a motion?
yes, I will. So, I make a motion to adjourn the application of 61 Middle Pond Road, Shinnecock Hills, to August 29th.
20th.
I'm sorry.
Second.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Ms. Mastonio?
Aye.
Mr. Redmond?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, number 2 on the agenda, Jag of Long Island LLC, 38 Fox Hollow Drive, East Quogue, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-314-3-1. Applicant requests relief from Town Code Section 330-76N3 and 4, placement of accessory building structures and uses in all districts, for a rear yard setback from 50 feet to 45.5 feet to legalize the conversion of a tennis court into a pickleball court and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Mr. Bonacasa, you just want to introduce yourself, please?
Carl Benacasa, 860 Montauk Highway, Watermill, New York, for the applicant. So what happened here is, generally, this would be considered a minor variance because it's relief from the pickleball code. That's not treated as a minor variance, that requires full board review, so that's why we're here. And essentially what's going on is this was a tennis court, half of which was removed and revegetated, and they turned it into a small sports court. On it is a pickleball court. Now, that court is actually itself 55 feet from the side yard, so it meets the setbacks. It's just part of this larger sports court, which meets the sports court setbacks. But because there's pickleball on it, they're saying the whole sports court would have to meet the 50-foot setback. But that entire court is not being used for pickleball. In fact, they use it for basketball, and we don't need relief for that. That's compliant. So essentially, we're here because they chose not to disturb another area to create the pickleball court. They put it on an existing court, and that court is, within the 50-foot setback, even though the actual playing surface of the pickleball court meets the 55-foot
Right.
setback.
Right. Well, that's helpful,
Yeah.
because I was thinking that it was right at the edge of 45, so, okay, so it's
Yes, so
helpful.
that's what it's.
Yeah, okay.
So if I can go through the 5-part test, is it an undesirable change? This court exists. This playing surface has existed by permit since 1991. It was originally a tennis court that's been removed in half and revegetated, as you see. Now it's just a sports court. So putting it here actually prevents further disruption of the lot as opposed to establishing a new court for the pickleball somewhere else. Can the relief be sought by some other method? No, they're trying to build this within an existing sports court for the reasons I mentioned, price being one of them. Is it substantial? We're asking for 4.5 feet of relief. As I mentioned, that's a bit misleading when you think of the fact that the court is actually compliant, the playing surface. It's just that this larger court isn't. And as I noted, under 335 or 330-11 dimensional setbacks, this would be a minor variance, but because pickleball is governed by 330-76N3, it's not eligible for that minor treatment. Will it have a detrimental effect on the environment? Quite the opposite. It's actually establishing less disruption on the lot than creating a separate pickleball court would be. And was this self-created? No, they're working within existing elements on the house. So I am happy to answer any questions you have.
John, this is yours.
I don't have any questions. I have no
I-
problem with
so-
this application.
Can I just make a clarification point? So what they're saying is that if you use an existing tennis court, that tennis court has to be 50 feet from the property line.
Yes.
Right, okay, so that's the problem. It's not that the pickleball court is at 45, it's at 55, but it's because it's on an existing surface.
That's right.
And because it's on an existing surface, you also don't have to meet the other requirements of the pickleball courts, which is the sinking and the walls and the other things.
Only if it's at 50 feet.
Only if it's at 50 feet.
That's right, so that but because they're using it's confusing in this case, but yes, so I just want to get
It's not actually a
clarification.
tennis court anymore, they've eliminated
understand.
that, so it becomes this playing surface, I guess.
Okay.
Would we obviate the need for relief if the court, is it a big deal to move the court actually?
No, because it's still part of that surface.
Oh.
That's the
See, the
problem.
surface
Okay,
is the
that doesn't do
problem.
it. Got it.
That doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going for
If it was
themselves.
just repainting, we would
Yeah,
do it.
that's,
Yeah.
seemed too easy.
Okay. Any comments from the board? Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on 38 Fox Hollow?
So, can we, I'm sorry, I have
Go
one more
ahead, go
question.
ahead.
Can we clarify what we think we're approving? Are we approving a sports court, or are we approving a pickleball court?
We're
What are we
approving the location of a pickleball court on a sports surface, an old tennis court.
The existing sports
That
surface.
is not 50 feet from the property line.
That's awesome how you just said that, thank you.
So
Okay.
that's, and if, hopefully Katie's gonna be able to write that up in some.
I'm gonna just copy how it's advertised.
Okay. Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard?
No one. No one.
John? Oh, hold on, is there anybody?
I said no one, sorry.
Okay, sorry, John?
Okay, I move to close the public hearing on this application, hold it open for written submissions to July 17th with a decision on August 6th.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. King? Mr. Macedonia? Mr. Redmond?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald? Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you, Carl.
Have a good weekend.
Oh, all right, we can't
Three
get
on
rid
the
of you that quickly,
agenda.
huh? Okay.
Application of Beatrice Knox Stern Kaplan, 58 Hampton Court, Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-51-2-54. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the Town Code: to legalize the location of a pool, Section 330-6 General Regulations that references Section 330-11 Residence District's Table of Dimensional Regulations for an accessory side yard setback from 10 feet to 5.9 feet, and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Mr. Benacasa, introduce yourself again.
Laura Benacasa, 860 Montauk Highway, Watermill, New York, for the applicant. I represent the current owner who purchased the lot about a year ago. It was the end of last summer, actually. And while we were doing our diligence on the lot, we got this survey, and I looked, and I said, this pool is 6 feet from the side yard. What's going on there? They had a permit. We were waiting for the COs to close out. And obviously, this was a hindrance. Now, when you're buying a piece of property, as my client was, certainly the contract affords you certain rights to get out of it. But in the grand scheme of things, that decision is not necessarily an easy one to make. Commitments have been made, whatever. So we closed with this issue. We have some money in escrow, and here we are trying to legalize the existing pool. Now, I don't know if this was submitted. Do you have the expense of relocating the pool?
No, we did not get that.
You want two?
No, just me. Everybody's okay.
I don't have many of these, but I can just.
I'll take one because I'm the lead on it.
This is the company that put the pool in.
Well,
The quote to relocate it is $56,000. What happened is, if you look at the survey, you can kind of see what happened.
That's what's downhill.
Whoever put the pool in thought that fence was the property line. And that's the issue. Now, the neighbor, the really only impacted neighbor, the neighbor to the immediate east, has a letter of support. Do you have that, James?
No.
I'll submit that.
Oh, is that from Neil Gilliam?
Yeah, I'll read it into the record and then
I
I,
like that one.
you have that.
Yeah.
Did we have it in our packet? I don't remember.
It may have been
Part of the
initial
submit.
application process.
So that neighbor to the immediate east sent a letter. The I'm the neighbor, I'm writing as the owner of the property located adjacent to the subject property. I wish to express my support for the zoning board of appeals application submitted by the owner for a variance allowing a swimming pool to remain within the required setback due to the error of the prior owner's contractor. I've also spoken with the owners to the north. They also have no issue with it. Again, the setback is supposed to be 10 feet. The permit required it at 15 feet, but you can build it at 10 feet. And where it is located is 5.9 feet. So we're asking for 4.1 feet of relief. Going through the tests, was it cause an undesirable change in the neighborhood? The neighborhood is developed, almost every single neighbor has a swimming pool, so putting pools in is not something new or a change in the neighborhood. There's no way to say that this couldn't be located in a conforming location. I can't say that. But the reality is there was an error. The cost of fixing that error is substantial. The expense both financially and with regards to the disruption of the property, this is in the APOD, would be significant. Can it be feasibly achieved without an alternative? Again, feasibility, you can factor in the expense of feasibility. And my client is looking to avoid incurring that expense or any expense generally, and the disruption of having to relocate the pool. Substantiality, it's 41%, but we're really talking about 4 feet in the scheme of things. Again, in consideration of, taking into consideration the support of the neighbor as well, I think that weighs on whether it's substantial, the reaction from the neighbors, how they feel it will impact their property. And will it have an adverse environmental effect? Quite the opposite. To leave it as is would be far less disruptive to the environment. I know when you consider these, you're always cognizant of, are you opening up a back door for someone to come and say, oh, I made a mistake? I think here, what differentiates this, one, the current owner did not make the mistake. Two, I don't understand the benefit that would be achieved by putting a pool 5 feet closer to the side yard than it was. If anything, you'd want the pool further from your side yard. So I can't see how anyone would do this disingenuously, or why they would do it disingenuously. This was clearly a legitimate error. The most impacted party is supportive, and the cost of relocating, not only disturbing within the aquifer, but also at great expense to the applicant, is significant enough, I think, that it weighs in favor of granting this, even in consideration of, as you always should be considering, opening that back door up for people to make mistakes and then come and ask for forgiveness. This was a legitimate mistake. You can actually see, again, as I point out, where that wire fence is, how that mistake was made. I can't explain, since it wasn't my client who commissioned this or built this, it's hard for me to explain. Did the surveyor not mark it out? Usually, as you know, as builders know, you get a mark out, usually with 10-foot offset, something like that. I don't have a good answer as to why the mistake happened, but it did happen, and it was a legitimate mistake.
Okay, this is my application. I went to look at the property. It's very deceptive, the property line. I mean, and it's deceptive because of the wire fence.
Yes.
And it's also deceptive because the grass is mowed on the other side of the wire fence, and I'm thinking that it's mowed by the applicant. It is not mowed by the applicant. My big concern is that I feel that there needs to be some kind of a demarcation of the property line, and perhaps that's done with screening or something else, because I think for us to not do something that actually sets up what the property line is would be a mistake. And I would really, I personally would feel like we need to have some kind of a demarcation so that it is clear whose property is what, because you don't want to create an easement, that the current owner has an easement of this property of the neighbor.
Adverse possession.
I meant adverse possession, it's been a while.
Is there a lot line agreement? Is there?
No.
I mean, so this was an out of possession at the time of purchase, or?
It's not an out of possession. It's an out of possession for the neighbor, not for us. Yeah.
No, understood.
Yeah,
So
Understood.
this is a title issue for the neighbor.
yeah, right.
And to your point, the pool enclosure is currently located on another property, so we're gonna have to move that fence to the line.
Right. So, so anyhow, I feel very strongly that there has to be some kind of a demarcation of the property line.
Well, if your client's willing to move the wire fence, then do it.
It's not his wire fence. Oh, is it? It is his wire fence?
yes.
No, I thought it was the neighbor's wire
It's
fence.
the neighbor's wire fence, but we're going to
Neighbor's
put
wire
a
fence for their
up.
pool.
Right.
See, they have a
But
fence.
why does it
Oh,
appear
I'm
to
sorry.
be
No, no, no.
starting from the
It's our
property at
wire fence,
issue?
Oh,
And
it
we
is
are
your wire fence.
relocating.
Oh,
yes.
oh, okay.
It starts there,
Okay.
so just relocate it as a
Sorry, I misspoke.
condition of the,
Okay, so then.
We'll relocate to the line,
relocate it to the
absolutely.
line.
Absolutely. So that has to occur. And, perhaps, again, some screening because, again, we want to recognize that neighbors have rights. And while he's very supportive, I still feel for our, for our future and for other cases that come before us, that we should make some sort of a requirement for that.
And to clarify, I misstated my
sorry.
words. It's in the neighbor's title issue, it's our client's fence, yes.
Okay, so, all right, so now because, and I'm sure your client is the one who's mowing it then, because it's his fence, so he's mowing it.
I don't know who's mowing it. I
I'm
can't
sure,
say.
because
Yes, it
I'm
must be.
positive, because it looked exactly like the other lawn that was in the back. So, I think, okay, so the fence needs to be moved. And then, I would suggest some screening.
Sure.
The entire length, or
I don't necessarily think the entire length, but, I mean, if you're moving the fence to the property line, I don't think necessarily, unless you feel.
no,
strongly.
I'm just trying to
Yeah, you're trying to.
just clarify.
Yeah,
Is the screening for buffering or for demarcation?
it's both.
Probably both?
It's both.
Sure.
It's, the fence definitely has to be moved, and I'm sorry, I misunderstood the fence issue. I thought it was the neighbor's
You can see that it
fence.
originates
Yeah.
on the property at issue.
Yes, I'm sorry, sorry for the confusion, yes.
Okay, okay. Any other comments from the board?
Nope, I think you make a good point.
It's a spot you're in.
All right, is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on 58 Hampton Court? Anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard?
No one.
Okay, this is mine. So Carl, I think we can do this with written submissions. I would like to get in the record the costs which we just received tonight. Okay. And an agreement that the fence will be moved and that there will be some screening at least to cover, the locale around the pool. And, to be a nice neighbor. Cheaper than $56,000, so,
That's just the estimate, we don't know.
I know. So maybe something, he's got like a fire pit and stuff, maybe from the fire pit through the pool, the screening. And if you could submit that on a revised survey. Okay, so I am going to, where is my here?
What's the agreement, Susan? Yes, it's an agreement.
A screening.
And then you said screening, but you said agreement before that?
Oh,
we ask the
the
public?
moving,
Oh, we did, okay.
no, I don't, maybe I said it, but I didn't mean it.
The applicant is agreeing to provide screening. And
Yeah.
provide-
I'm
Screening
sorry you
and we'll
picked
move
up.
the fence, yes.
Okay. I think
Screening, move
agreement.
the fence.
On the
and
revised
from-
survey, yeah.
From like the fire pit through the pool. Okay, maybe from the house, I mean, whatever, whatever, and then you'll put it on the survey, resubmit the survey. Okay. Yeah, okay, so I am going to move that we close the hearing, the public hearing, hold it open for written comments until July 17th with a decision on August 6th.
Second,
Is it July 16th?
July
Yes.
17th.
So that's 17.
17th. I thought the last one was 16th, sorry.
I seconded.
Okay, Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia?
Aye.
Mr. Redhand?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald? Ms. Burgess? And I voted aye. So, okay, thank you, Carl. All right, you too.
Okay, number 4 on the agenda, the application of Robert Selkin and Stacy Selkin, 8 Hidden Pond Lane, West Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-356-1-8.4. Applicant requests relief in the following provisions of the Town Code to legalize a sports court constructed without the benefit of a building permit. 1, Section 330-6, general dimensional regulations that references section 330-11 Residence District's Table of Dimensional Regulations for an accessory side yard setback from 20 feet to 3.6 feet, and 2, section 330-76D, placement of accessory building structures and uses in all districts, and section 330-83C, yards, to allow the sports court to remain within the required side yard for the principal building and any other relief necessary.
Attorneys,
Yes.
both? Okay, please state your name and address individually.
Appearance for the record, Rodney Drake, 600 Johnson Avenue, Suite A-8, Bohemia, New York, 11716.
Hold on. Please, Rodney.
What was your last name?
I need his first name.
Drake, Rodney.
Rodney, I need your last name.
Drake.
Oh, Drake.
Okay.
Okay, Frank.
Joseph Fazio, 1 Comac Loop, Ronkonkoma, New York, 11779.
Joseph, just the last name.
Fazio.
All right, who's going to start us off on this application?
We represent the applicant who also owns, who's seeking a variance, who also owns the adjoining property where it's going to encroach outside of the outside of the setback. Basically, if you look at the pictures, there is no environmental impact. He's looking for basically a basketball court and a deck hockey court, and that's the only thing it will be used for. They're there maybe 2-3 months. This is a summer home for them. And as I stated, most importantly is they own the adjoining land, the adjoining 3 acres where this court is encroaching on. And if you look at the survey, I think we have one there for you. You can see it. There it is.
It's owned in an LLC, right?
What's that?
It's owned in an LLC. It's the Selkin DRS Properties LLC property?
Right,
Okay.
correct.
So as I understand, this is already built and has been used, correct? So what are you, you're looking for?
For a variance, because there's other buildings on there that, we have the builder here. Would you like to come up? Come on. And you can't get a CO for the other properties until this is approved. And if you look at it, there's shrubbery around it. There was no other suitable place to build it because it would have been removing a wooden barrier there, over 50% of it, which would be outside of the town code. Or if you look at picture number 5, I believe it is, that's the wooden barrier, and that would be another place where they tried to use it, but they couldn't use it there.
So this is what's identified on the survey as the athletic court? Is this what's
Yes.
identified on the survey as the athletic court? Okay, so in the ad, we have your reduction to 3.6, and then on the survey, there's, the north side is 3.7 and the south side is 3.8. So what's the correct number?
Are you, you're not an attorney, right? You're a builder? Okay, let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please state your name and address.
Michael Goralski,
Okay, Michael.
Just spell your last name for me.
Goralski.
A-L-S-K-I?
Yes.
It's between 3.7 and 3.8, Mr. Leonard, to answer your question.
All right, and you're the and did you give us an address?
I'm not the builder. I represent the homeowner, yeah.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
okay. You're like his representative?
Yes.
Okay, okay. All right, so your question, John, was what? That on the survey it says 3.7 and 3.8?
And on the advertisement, it's 3.6, so I'm wondering, we need an exact number in order,
All right, so we need,
we're doing, that's one
so
thing.
should we go with the survey on the exact number? The other thing that I raised with Katie, actually, is that the application says this is an R60, and it has 63 plus 1,000 square feet. But everything else says it's an R40, and that has to do with the setbacks, you know, what setbacks we actually
Right.
have to deal with. So I looked it up on the portal, and the town portal, and it says R40. Katie, did you confirm that it's an R40?
The application says both. If you look at the top, it says CO number R40, and then it says,
But it says current zoning district R60.
I think it's just a
Okay,
mistake.
so it's R40, so we're looking at the R40 setbacks. Okay,
That's how the building department identified it.
okay, all right, just wanted to make that clear. Okay,
Now, they're also planning to put green giant shrubs on the adjoining property which they own, the 3 acres of. So it's not stopping anybody's view. It's There's no lighting, there's no music, there will be none, and it's only gonna be for those two uses for their children. They have two children who like to play field hockey and basketball. The father likes to shoot hoops with them.
Okay, and you understand that no pickleball?
Yeah,
No
that's what I
pickleball
wanted
at
to
all.
talk about.
No pickleball
because
whatsoever.
I'm not a sports court expert, but this photograph one, that looks a lot like a pickleball court.
If I may, this is a prefabricated flooring for deck hockey, and it comes with lines. If you look at it, you'll see the goalie lines on both sides, and it has the basketball hoop. This comes pre-made and pre-lined. It's not something that they created, so.
It's some kind of composite, right?
Yeah, it's, if you look at it, it's, yeah, it's plasticky. I'm looking at.
You can see it has a
It's like
Pictures,
tiles you put
8
down,
and, yeah,
right?
8 and 9,
Yeah.
it's,
It looks like tiles.
Puzzle tiles.
like a,
yeah, it has like a honeycomb
right.
design to it.
So the lines are pre-made.
I see,
They
okay.
didn't draw those.
So back to Susan's point, you understand
pickleball.
clearly no pickleball.
Well, we're
That'll
gonna
be
put
in the
that in any
record.
kind of a
I don't
decision,
think-
obviously.
I don't think you can play in that kind of surface anyway. Pickleball, right?
I'm not a pickleball player.
You never
I don't
know.
Non-pickleball
No,
surface.
but you know, it's probably not, but that doesn't mean because it exists that it can't, the
Yeah.
surface can't be changed. So, I think that, you
Yeah, it's
know,
fine.
we
Put
have
it-
to have some and obviously, if it is used for pickleball, there are all sorts of other requirements that need to be met. You know,
Different
sinking it
setback.
and different, you know,
Setbacks are different.
setbacks,
Has to be
walls.
something I understand,
Yeah,
yes.
there's a lot of concern about the noise. John, this is yours.
All right, so,
I mean, do you have any more questions?
well, I would tell you, when I first saw it, it's a nice piece of property. Being a builder, I really wasn't having, it's pretty easy to know that this was built in the wrong spot, whoever built it. It's just common sense. So if you have a builder and he puts it there, what made it a little bit easier is because realizing that he owned the property next to it. 3 acres next to it. For me, if he didn't own that, it might have been a little bit different for me.
Oh, well, it might have been different for the neighbors.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what would have made it different. So, I would say that, for me, I'm not sure why anybody would build that way, without a permit, and knowing whoever was the builder knows that that's, but otherwise, I have no other questions. I was all right with it after I realized the property next door was.
So I have a couple of things when
Yeah,
you're
you-
done, but,
Good.
so, I understand everything you said. And my concern would be if, you know, you're telling us here that it's essentially a fused lot for the purposes of ownership and use. But if someone split the lot and said, we're now
Exactly.
gonna sell the lot, and the next door neighbor comes in and says, I have this ridiculous, stupid deck board right next to my fence, I want the same thing for my pickleball court and some other things, right? So somebody argues that you gave this guy that, I would like the same treatment. So, you know, so that's one. The second is,
Kevin,
if you got,
before you move on, I want to just dovetail onto that.
Okay.
There's no guarantee that the next door lot is going to be owned in perpetuity by this family. And so I fear, my concern, just like yours, is that we are committing this piece of property to something so close to the lot line, and we have no control over if the lot, and you say it's 3 acres, very easily sold and subdivided.
Would you stipulate that if they decide to
Absolutely,
sell the
yes,
property,
sell
they
the
will
property,
remove the
yes.
sports court?
Right, yeah.
well, and I would go one step further, that the, you know, any accessory use variance, separate, if the lot is separated from this, all the variance granted for the use so close to the property line also vaporizes.
That's fair.
Exactly,
That's
would
what
be withdrawn and not
Julie
allowed. Exactly, I understand that, yeah.
And that way, we don't have somebody else coming in, you sat through some of the meeting, right? So you have other
Yeah.
people coming in and say, I want the same treatment he got, he seems like a nice guy, why can't I be treated like a nice guy?
Seems-
You're absolutely right.
I think they're all three are making a really good point, that, you know, if there is a sale of the property, the
Change in ownership.
change in ownership, it has to be
And the
removed.
change of the circumstances being represented to us today that says that should be considered, and we just want, you know, a vaporization clause, which is, if
That's a new legal concept, by the way,
Yes,
the
the
vaporization
vaporization clause, I like that.
Okay. It's my understanding from what I know about the property owners that they like the fact that there is nobody next door to them, and that's why they want to put the evergreen giant shrubbery along that fence line to keep the natural look. And from behind the house towards Montauk Highway, you have all the uncleared land, and you can see in the photos, the front edge of that is all landscaped nicely with shrubbery and flowers and such. And you have the natural vegetation extending all the way to Montauk Highway. So they're not looking to compromise.
But today,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good point.
Our argument isn't with anything you're representing or intending.
Right.
It's, at some point in time, people no longer own the same piece of property. And then other people say, I want to change my mind about certain things.
So we agree to that restriction.
Can I also ask you about the fence? Because what's the height of the fence?
The stockade is 6 feet.
No, I'm not, I'm talking about the fence, the internal fence.
8 foot.
Does that,
Oh,
Katie,
yeah,
does that
9 foot.
require a building permit, an 8-foot fence? The fence around the sports court, it's the, the wire fence around the sports court is 8 feet tall. Does that require a building permit?
I mean, we can ask, they
Yeah,
can,
it's pretty
they can check
standard
with the building
for-
department. Sometimes, I mean,
Check with the building department, I don't think so.
yeah, sometimes
But I-
they'll
Because
they'll
that's
say the
standard.
fence is like part of it,
When I
right?
put the application in, I included that 8-foot fence in there because I assumed that it would need to be included in this. And they said you do not need it because it's not the outer.
perimeter.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that, so we don't need
Absolutely, good.
a variance on that, okay.
But have you also, the property is flagged with wetlands. Have you been before the conservation board or have you made
So
an
that's,
application?
the property next door is flagged with wetlands that's 109 Montauk Highway. And that's on the easternmost part of the property.
Yeah, but this lot is also flagged with wetlands, so have you checked with the
I
conservation
don't
board?
believe it is.
It is. Like when you click on it, it says
So
wetlands.
it doesn't have to necessarily have wetlands on the property. What she's saying is that it may be within the jurisdiction of wetlands, whether they're on-site or off-site.
Okay.
Our system shows it, so
Could be within proximity to wetlands,
potentially within 200 feet.
requiring a buffer then.
Well, I mean,
They should
we
verify
make a
with the Marty's
referral to
office,
the
yeah.
conservation board, but the board, this board won't act until we hear back, and if you need a permit or a letter of non-jurisdiction, that has to be secured as well.
I know when we did the whole property, we had to go to the wetlands and conservation, and it passed through, so I'm assuming that
Well, do you have evidence of that?
it should be on all the paperwork from the building of that.
I don't think it was included in the paperwork.
It wouldn't have been included in this.
Okay, but we need that. And,
Either way, this board is gonna make a
Right.
referral to the conservation board, and you guys will have, depending upon what they say, you'll have to wrap that up before this board renders a decision.
That's fine.
Yeah,
We could get another date, or?
yeah,
I mean, normally, after they finish this testimony, if the board is satisfied, they can close it and just wait for that written submission. But if you need to get a permit, we don't know what the conservation board will say, like
they may put
say-
stipulations down, and you have to adhere to that, which would then change us in terms of
So
what we're
so
doing.
that just has to be on submission then, correct?
Well, it could be on submission, but it may have to be reopened at some point.
Yeah, I mean, if you feel confident that you're not gonna need any wetlands permits for
I'm
this,
confident that we went through this.
other than maybe a letter of non-jurisdiction, then the board could close it and we could just, wait for that. If for some reason the conservation board says, you're super close to the wetlands and we want you to tear this up, you're gonna have to come back.
Yeah.
All right.
Just so that you understand.
So we're gonna,
Okay,
Close
so
this?
before we do that, is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on 8 Hidden Pond Lane? Anybody on Zoom?
No one.
Okay, so John, this is
all right,
yours.
so we're gonna close it for written submissions for 7/17. And then we're gonna go with the decision on 8/6.
Second.
Mr. Redmond. Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Mastonia.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Aye. Chair votes aye. Okay, and then if we need to extend, we'll just adjourn until we get.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
Weekend, thank
Take
you.
care, happy Fourth.
Okay, number 5 on the agenda, application of Thomas Zabrowski, 107 Majors Path, North Sea, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-131-3-36.2. Applicant requests relief from Town Code Section 330-84D, pyramid height for north sky plane encroachment of 8.93 cubic feet and a south sky plane encroachment of 8.93 cubic feet for proposed second-story dormer addition to an existing dwelling on a non-conforming lot and any other relief necessary.
Court has jurisdiction.
Are you an attorney? No. Okay, let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Thomas Zabrowski, 107 Majors Path, Southampton, New York.
Okay, Thomas, so tell us about this application.
Okay, well, we want to add a dormer to the backside of the house. And lo and behold, we violate the sky plane by 2.1 feet on the north side, and on the south side by 2.8 feet. And puts us into having this meeting.
Okay?
The dormer doesn't change the footprint of the house. You know, I went through the questions on the application, answered those. And the height of the house isn't going to change. The dormer's going to go from the current ridge peak back toward the back of the house. So, character of the neighborhood, questions of that nature really doesn't change the character of the house much. You can hardly see it from any side of the house. So the volumes, you know, there's a picture by the architect that laid out the volume, square feet. The red is the proposed dormer, the blue is the existing house, which I might add, it's been there since 1952, and it's always had this violation of this pyramid law. The values that he's mentioning there are the total volume, and, you know, the areas are related to the different views from the, you know, either the north or the south side of the house.
So this is mine, and I'll just say, I have no issue with the application, and I wish you well with your dormers.
Okay.
I don't know if
I just
others-
need a clarification, though, because I don't understand what, there's existing encroachment into the pyramid, and then there's new. So what's the total volume at the end of the day? The
Total
existing
volume?
plus the new would be what?
23.2 cubic feet.
All right, 22 cubic feet, all right.
So much.
That's everything. The
That's
dormer,
everything.
the existing, and both sides of the house.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I just needed some clarification, because when we write this up, we like to make sure that we've got it all accurately. Anybody on the board who wishes to be heard on this? Anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on 107 Majors Path? Anybody on Zoom?
No one.
How old did you say this house was?
52. It was
Wow.
built in 52.
Wow, great. Julie, this is yours.
Yes. So we are going to close the public hearing, keep it open for written submissions until July 17, with a decision slated for August 6.
Second.
Ms. Kane? Aye. Mr. Mastonia?
Aye.
Mr. Redpath?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Aye. Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Zabrowski.
No, that was
Second.
Bob. Okay, number 6 on the agenda, estate of John J. Brown, 62 Short Road, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-258-2-35. Applicant requests a determination that the subject parcel, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-25-2-35, is held in single and separate ownership from all adjacent parcels and thus entitled to relief pursuant to Section 330-115.
Court has jurisdiction.
Okay, attorneys?
I am. Hi, I'm Jackie Hubbard from Toomey, Latham, Shea, Dubin, Kelly, and Porter.
Okay, and are you an attorney?
I am not.
Okay, let me swear you in. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Brian Ames, A-H-M-E-S,
A-H-M-E-S.
R-Y-A-N. 486 Manatuck Boulevard, Bright Waters, New York.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Jackie, So tell us about this application.
Great. So I'm here on behalf of the applicant, which is the daughter for the estate of John J. Brown, which currently owns 62 Shore Road in Hampton Bays. Mr. Ames is here with me tonight because he is the contract vendee for this property. This is a single and separate determination request. The parents of our client had previously owned 64 Shore Road as husband and wife. 62 Shore Road, the subject property, was owned just by Mr. Brown. I'll just give a little bit of background quickly, and then I was hoping that that Ryan would speak for his experience as well, because he had applied, and that's how this came up.
Okay.
So our client's father originally purchased the property in 1978. They, prior to that, both parents purchased 64 Shore Road, which has the existing dwelling, with another couple, and eventually their interest in that property, they bought out their interest in the property, so they owned it completely in 1972. That dwelling was constructed in 1961. So at the time, in 1978, Mr. Brown, like I said, owned it individually, and the parents owned the other property together. We fast forward to 2013, Mr. Brown passed away, but his estate was not probated and didn't go through court until 2022 when his wife passed away. Because of that, we fell into an issue where the window we would have had under the code passed. We would have had the 3 years from 2022 would have been up at April 2025. But I believe Mr. Ames entered into contract in July 2025 to purchase the property, and then applied as contract vendee. Come to find out that there's an issue with the single and separate for the property. They've been taxed independently and separately since their establishment. Both properties are part of the Good Ground Development Subdivision. The descriptions of the property for 64 Shore Road is designated as lots 15 through 19 on that subdivision. 62 is designated as lots 10 through 14, the same subdivision map, in Block N, excuse me. They've been assessed independently for this entire time. And from aerials, you can see that the dwelling has existed on the 64 for a long time, and Mr. Brown never developed them together or in tandem. And just to be clear too, at this time, at the beginning of this year, 64 Shore Road was sold to a third party, so that third party owns the property now. So we're just here to hopefully amend this and allow Mr. Ames to move on with his life and application. You can of course ask me questions after he speaks, but I'll have him speak.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I just want to reiterate, everything she said is exactly what happened. I purchased the property. I was told it was single and separate. I invested a lot of money in the piece. Find out it's not. The town joined it. The current owner didn't keep them separate as they were supposed to. I've spoke to many neighbors. They're happy to have a house built there. I'm looking to build a house. I've been building my whole life. I take a lot of pride in what I do. This has caused a lot of stress for my family, so I'm hoping that we can move this forward.
And just to piggyback on that, but the property is currently heavily
Yes.
like wooded. There's nothing on the property. There's no improvements currently.
Were there ever any improvements?
I don't think so.
No.
So
There was an application. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
No, so there was, the property wasn't used at, subject to the primary residence?
Not that we're aware of, and not that my client has been aware of. I know that there was an application prior to 1978 where the purchase that for a development of a separate house, and at that time it was still owned by a different person, but it seems like that was withdrawn right before Mr. Brown purchased the property.
And different tax map numbers, right?
Tax map, yep, everything.
I believe it was single
There
and
are
separate back
mortgages?
in 1915.
Excuse me?
I believe it was single and separate back in 1915.
Okay. Mortgages on the property?
I believe there's a mortgage on the main property, 64.
Okay.
But
And was there any mortgage on 62?
I don't know off the top of my head. I can confirm, if that would help the board. Yeah.
Yeah, and whether or not 62 was, whether or not the mortgage on 62 is benefiting 64 was
see.
benefiting 62.
Okay.
John, anything else?
No, I mean, it was never developed, so there's no utility, no history of utilities,
Vacant land.
vacant land,
Yeah.
never used for gardens, lighting, anything like that. No.
And, sometimes, you do get caught up in that 3-year window, which is not uncommon. Katie, correct?
We were like 3 months late.
I know, and it's, it's not one of the things you're thinking about at the time, so. Anybody else on the board? Katie, you looked through the documents and I did too. It looked like it was pretty much established as single and separate. Yeah.
I would also just clarify, just so it's clear, we were hired just for this proceeding. So it wasn't my firm or myself handling any of these sales or
We're not
this
holding
contract.
you, we're not holding you
But I wanted to make sure that was clear. I was like,
Yeah,
that made it seem like I didn't know what I was talking
Responsible.
about. Yeah, so
Okay, Jackie, don't worry.
Came on for this.
For the clarification.
It's all good, we understand. You don't want to go back and say, no, yeah.
No, it
Okay.
would just make it seem silly that I wasn't aware of it, I guess.
I guess, no, we understand.
Gotta be sitting a little farther away.
Yeah.
I know. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on 62 Shore Road? Anybody on Zoom?
No one.
John, yours.
Okay, I move to close the public hearing on this application, hold it open for written submissions to July 17th with a decision on 8/6.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Mastonia?
Aye.
Mr. Redhand?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you very much.
thank
We'll
you.
get this resolved.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do I read the full next one? Advertised? Yeah, okay. Oh, it's long. Okay, number 7 on the agenda, Suffolk Realty and Management LLC, 9 Lake Avenue, Riverside, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-138-1-104.1. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for proposed freestanding interior illuminated single-pole gas price sign on a non-conforming lot. 1, Section 330-84D, height pyramid for a pyramid encroachment of 44.29 cubic feet. 2, Section 330-205B2 and 4, general provisions. 4, a front yard setback of 2.9 feet from the east property line where a minimum of 20 feet is required. To allow a shell emblem gas price and advertisement cabinet centered on top of a pole sign where only pole signs with horizontal decorative sign support and a suspended sign are allowed. C, to allow a pole sign with a height of 16 feet where a maximum of 8 feet to the top of its pole is allowed. And D, to allow a sign with a total of 43.08 square feet where maximum sign area allowed shall not exceed 16 square feet. 3, Section 330-207 illuminated signs and Section 330-210.1B2D design guidelines. A, to allow a pole sign to display additional wording, Shell V-Power and Food Mart and prices in addition to the logo of the business. And B, to allow a pole price sign with additional wording and digital pricing with illumination that deviates from the requirements of internally illuminated signs that shall only be constructed with an opaque background, translucent letters, and white light sources. In addition, applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for proposed canopy over the existing gas pumps. 1, Section 330-84D, height pyramid for a total pyramid encroachment of 1,484 cubic feet. And 2, Section 330-34, business districts, table of dimensional regulations, a front yard setback of 20.1 feet to the northwest corner of the canopy, a front yard setback of 7 feet to the northeast corner of the canopy, and a front yard setback of 14.8 feet to the southeast corner of the canopy, where a setback of 100 feet is required respectively, and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Okay. Are you an attorney? No. Okay, let me swear you in and then you can state your name. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Errol Bayraktar, 1801.
E-R-O-L.
E-R-O-L, B-A-Y-R-A-K-T-A-R.
I'm sorry, one more time, last name.
E-R-O-L, B-A-Y-R-A-K-T-A-R. 1801 County Road 39, Southampton, New York 11968.
Okay, are you the owner?
Yes.
Okay. And would you like to state your name
Sure, why
and
not?
address?
For the applicant, Robert Marcinsuk, O'Shea Marcinsuk in Bruin, 250 North Sea Road, Southampton.
Good evening.
Okay, so tell us about this
All right,
application.
so the subject property is located on the southwest side of the Riverhead Traffic Circle in Riverhead. It's currently Shell gas station that's operating there, as well as an accessory convenience store on the property. It's comprised of approximately 16,046 square feet, located in the HB zoning district, which requires a minimum lot size of 40,000. So therefore, obviously, it's a non-conforming lot as to its size. The surrounding property around the traffic circles comprised of all commercial properties. There are two other properties that are currently or were previously used as gasoline service stations, one of which actually I think was recently before this board, where they want to put the 7-Eleven on it, on that particular parcel. The subject parcel has benefit of a CO for a gasoline station that was issued in April of 1965. Thereafter, the property also was issued or had benefits of a CO for a storage room addition to the gasoline station in 1974. ZBA decision in 1989, which granted a price sign affixed to and made part of the existing Shell identification sign that was on the property. ZBA decision in August of 1997, finding that the food market use and sign on the property were pre-existing non-conforming. And finally, a certificate of compliance for the renovations to the existing gas station and convenience store in 2004. There was also a certificate of compliance for a Food Mart sign that was issued in October of 2013. All of those approvals and COs and whatnot are included in the exhibit packet as Exhibit A. We're here this evening to ask for front yard variances and pyramid height relief, basically to construct a canopy over the existing gasoline pumps and to replace an elevated ground identification and gas price sign that was completely destroyed in March of last year when a motorist crashed into it and basically demolished it. The applicant is here, and as you know, and he submits that he believes that the canopy is essential to the successful operation of his service station. The canopies generally are used to provide shelter from the elements for customers, make the refueling process more comfortable and efficient. They provide safe operation of the gas pumps by the motorists, provide lighting, and provide nighttime visibility, temporary shelter, and potentially deters criminal activity by increasing the visibility of the area. Canopies also protect the gas dispensing pumps as well as the payment terminals and serve a vital role in ensuring emergency response and safety by providing a potential structure for fire suppression system. As far as the sign is concerned, the sign is essential for informing drivers about the brand of gas at the service station as well as the fuel costs, helping them make a quick decision when they need gas. Having a visible sign allows motorists to spot a gas station from a distance, compare the prices, and find the best value while traveling. In order for the sign to have any utility, though, it has to be visible and must be located in the proposed location so that motorists can easily see the what kind of gas is provided there as well as the price. As far as the statutory standards are concerned, due to the irregular configuration, modest size of the property as well as the large amount of street frontage that comprise it, and the proximity of the existing gas pumps to the street, the canopy requires an area variance and pyramid height relief. In order to have any utility and to be used for its intended purpose, the canopy must be constructed over the existing gas pumps and slightly extend actually over those gas pumps. The existing gas pumps are approximately 20 feet from the property line, from the front yard property line, and obviously the canopy can't meet the 100-foot front yard setback requirement in the HB zone. At its deepest point, the property is just 127 feet deep. The applicant can't comply with the front yard setback because he basically, it's impractical to think that he can move the gas pumps to meet the setback so that the canopy can likewise be in a conforming location. Additionally, New York state law mandates that a minimum vertical clearance of 14 feet is required in the drive-through area under the gas station canopies to accommodate passenger as well as delivery trucks. Therefore, the canopy can't be lowered any more than 14 feet in order to reduce the pyramid height relief that we're requesting. Similarly, if the sign were placed in, as I mentioned earlier, in a conforming location, no one would see it and would have no utility and basically be useless. Therefore, we need a variance for the sign as well. Neither the canopy nor a sign will cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. As I indicated, there were previously other properties that were used as gas stations, and those gas stations had canopies and signs similar to what is being requested by the applicant in the instant application. The sign being requested was destroyed, as I mentioned, last year. Photos of the sign after it was struck by the motorists are included in the exhibit packet as Exhibit B, and it was basically right where we are requesting it to essentially be rebuilt. Prior to being destroyed, it had existed there for many years. The gas price sign was added in somewhere in about 1989 when the zoning board actually granted a variance to add a 3-foot by 6-foot price sign to that already existing Shell gasoline identification sign. That was pursuant to decision 8587, which is included in the exhibit packet as Exhibit A. The new sign that's going to replace the destroyed sign is basically shown in Exhibit C. That's what it will look like. We also would submit that the 16-foot height is actually a benefit since the sign will be high enough so it doesn't block the view of motorists who are either entering or leaving the traffic circle. As far as environmental concerns, the pyramid height relief will not interfere with sunlight, airflow, or have any detrimental environmental or physical impacts on nearby properties. It should not be considered oversized, top-heavy structure, which overwhelms adjacent properties. And we would submit that no neighboring properties would suffer a detriment as a result, since the most affected property is basically the traffic circle as far as the canopy is concerned. It's also our position that it will make the property more visually attractive. We had submitted as Exhibit D a rendering of what we believe that the property will look like, which we believe will be an improvement with the canopy. As far as the substantiality, we would submit that the variance for relief of 49.24 cubic feet for the ground identification sign and pyramid relief of 1484 for the canopy should not be considered substantial based upon the amount of relief that is being sought. We would also submit that while the setback variances might seem to be somewhat large in view of the standard, it's the minimum variance necessary to alleviate the applicant's hardship. You can't look at the relief sought judged basically upon just the sheer number alone. We believe that the character of the neighborhood, lack of negative impact of the neighborhood aesthetics, lack of a negative impact on the physical or environmental aspects of the neighborhood, and the fact that there are really no other options for the applicant to pursue besides the area variance. When considering those factors, the variance relief should not be considered substantial. Lastly, there have been other variances granted to other properties in the area. I've included the location of the other properties that have received variances in a map rendering in Exhibit E, as well as the variances for 7 Peconic Avenue, 9 Flanders Road, and 20 Waverly Avenue, which are all included in the exhibit packet. Which,
Excuse me again.
have granted various sign and setback variances to those properties.
Did any of those properties need canopy pyramid variance relief?
I don't know if anyone actually had, they actually indicated pyramid, but there was one for 7 Peconic Avenue, there was variance that was number 026019, which was dated in February 2026, granted relief to legalize a canopy sign and an illuminated sign. That's really just the signs, though, having to do with the canopy, not the canopy itself. Although now I'm looking at some of these. Variance decision for 7 Peconic Avenue, date, number 3999, dated August 12, 1974, granted front yard variance for, to 30 feet for gas pumps and a canopy. So as far as, there was a variance for 7 Peconic Avenue, which is currently, I think, it's the 76 gas station.
Right. That's also, and what's that, 40, 50 years ago? Or what year was that again?
74, yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, okay.
Right, but we also in that decision made very clear that removal of excessive logos.
Yes, and in fact,
And
on
things of
the
that nature.
building department, they actually came up with something about the logo on the canopy itself. And that the plans had not been submitted to what those logos would look like in the size and
And the
dimensions.
planning board also commented, if you got the planning board comments, pointed that out as well.
We did not.
You have them in your middle back. We've done the other day.
Oh, okay, so they came tonight, we didn't see the planning board. But did you see the comments from the building
Yes,
department?
I saw
Okay,
those. I
okay,
didn't see
'cause
the
that-
planning board comments.
John, right there, in your left hand.
So that's something that needs to be addressed.
Okay.
Can I get a question, Anthony, do we have a planning board report?
Yeah, I was gonna go through it actually real
Okay,
quick.
good.
So,
You
so,
do have it in your submittals, which is.
but I think it's worth, you know.
Well, tell us,
some of these-
because we didn't get to
So the
read
planning
it.
board, you know, doesn't have any, they made it very clear, the planning board has no issue with the canopy design. And, you know, they've looked at it, so that's not their concern. I also, these commercial zoning districts and these, the pyramid thing, sometimes you look at it a little differently.
Yes.
But the planning board had no issue with the canopy design. We like canopies with gas stations. We think they're vital. And we like when if we ask for a flat or a pitch roof, there's a reason why we ask for it. That's the planning board doing their job. They're looking at the character of the community. So the planning board has no issues with the canopy design. The digital sign, you know, it's not permitted in the zoning district. The planning board suggests an e-ink sign. I'm not familiar with an e-ink sign.
But I was gonna ask you, what is that?
I'm not sure, I would defer to. Lowering the monument sign, that'd be something we would like, 16 feet high, just
We do
for
that.
for the record. This old idea that people are looking up and they want to see that your safest, best bet for a sign is something that's lower, people not looking up at it. So we would ask you to come
But
down.
you
on
still
the sign.
need the visibility underneath the sign.
100%, 100%.
So there has to be-
You know, there's a
so
middle
it's got-
road,
you
we're not,
want-
you know, I'm not telling them to put it on the ground here,
No,
you know,
right,
so
right,
that-
but
would you like
people.
So their planning board suggests a lower monument sign, so they
Okay.
didn't tell, you know, give a
Okay.
specific number.
Does this board have any suggestion with respect to how low it would like it to be?
Well, I think you
High.
have to
You may want
visually.
to talk to Claire.
Yeah.
Claire is the one handling this.
Yeah, ask her.
The size and appearance of the signs on the side of the canopy, they say is not keeping with the character of the area, but that sounds more like a design issue that would be done through architectural review board and the planning board. I don't think there's any variances related to that. Gas pumps have signs and logos which are not permitted and shall be removed. The color of the pump shall be changed to a neutral color, gray or white. And it says remove the stripes from the front facade. I don't know what is there.
So I have a question on the canopy.
Yeah.
So this picture shows, you know, like a white stripe that goes around as the base of the canopy. And then there's something that looks like either stone or shingles that I can't tell if that's a 45-degree angle, is it straight up? And it just creates more mass. And I'd appreciate getting some opinion from either the planning staff or the planning board on that design consideration.
So are you saying it looks like it's too thick?
Well, I don't know what it
What
is,
goes in
but,
there?
you know, in my mind, the objective is the least obtrusive
Yeah.
visual thing that serves a useful function, right? So, and then, you know, I'm very familiar with the location. Driven through it and have gotten gas probably 1,000 times in my life over the last 40 some odd years. And I get it, it's a constrained lot and it's kind of tiny, and I understand the whole logic about putting the canopy over where the gas pumps are, because moving the tanks and the pumps to put a canopy over is a challenge, right? So I get all that. But I still, I'm a little concerned that, you know, everything is pretty close to the road, and there's a setback for a canopy for a reason, and I just don't know, I mean, I'm gonna say this as nice as, we were highly sensitized at prior meetings by the community about gas station issues there. And, you know, it's hard to sort of not remember that, right? So, you know, if we're gonna do anything like this, we should do the best job we can in the least obtrusive way possible, with real care about lighting, not lighting that should be adequate for the purposes of, you know, the function that people have, but not something that looks like, you know, City Field lit up at a ballpark,
Yeah,
right?
Generally, it's a site plan issue, generally. You know, I mean, they have requirements as far as how the
Yeah,
lighting.
I get that.
Right.
But there's a difference between what corporate would like to have for, on Route 66 somewhere out in the middle of the country, and, you know, what's suitable for the location. But the thing I'm mostly concerned about, I think the biggest issue here is the canopy. Does this have to be a gas station with a canopy, and is it too obnoxious, frankly? And if it's not, then show, you know, I'd like to see a better one, and I'd like an opinion from someone that has talent to make that evaluation.
So let me just, I want to be clear
Why
about
does the
something.
plan-
Well, hold on, everybody, gotta let me finish here. The planning board referred this. The planning board provided comments to this board. The planning board says the planning board has no issue with the canopy design. What I'm not going to do is give you a different opinion from the planning board's comments to this board.
Okay.
I can't do that.
Of course.
Why is it
And the
that the
reason
planning board
being-
likes canopies?
but-
For all the reasons that the applicant put forth.
And I like
It's-
canopies.
There's a safety
Safety,
issue.
a lot of
It's a
safety
weather
issue.
issue. It's also an aesthetic issue a lot of times.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have so much a problem with the canopy and, you know, and not moving the pumps. But I think you make a good point about, you know, there seems to be a height on the canopy, and is that necessary? In other words, what is?
The thickness of the roof, if you.
Yeah,
like
the
that
thick-
little
the thickness
mansard
of the
going
roof,
around
and
it.
what goes in there, and can that be reduced to, you know, bring it down a little bit in terms of the pyramid encroachment? I just don't know what goes in there, if you've got fire equipment or whatever else, you
Sure
know,
there's fire
or,
suppression.
I don't know, but, so I would like to have some clarification as to whether that's necessary.
That's 100% legitimate, by the
Yeah,
way.
so that's,
And that whole comment I agree with, and I would defer to competent planning staff to say, if you're looking to diminish the impact visually of this, here are some good considerations as compared to the visual we have, with all due respect to the folks that designed it.
and I think the point also about the monument sign is a good one, because it's a very busy circle, as you know, and you don't want people going like this, looking up,
yeah,
you know,
that's-
too high. I mean, almost like in, like, you know, normal range,
Yeah.
but also to allow for visibility through, so people aren't blocked to see what's ahead of them.
Exactly.
So that would be my comment.
And
about
I'm going to convey, Claire's the planner reviewing this application, so she'll be aware of the discussion we had here.
Okay.
But I mean, to the extent that it's on a circle, you really don't have like corner clearance issues with regard to a monument sign in the way you would
No,
elsewhere.
that's right, yeah.
No, but but we're also mindful that we're also trying to get this area cleaned up and looking a lot better.
Understood.
You know, and to your point, we want to look at all these site plan issues very closely, including lighting and massing and scale and all the rest of it.
We'd also like them consistent on going around through the circle.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the other thing, I remembered this because it was impactful to me. In another testimony, I think about the 7-Eleven gas station, the traffic engineer said, when they were proposing the new thing, I believe they said 75% of the traffic flow in and out of that traffic circle is local and repetitive. So it's not like you drive through there and you don't know it's a gas station.
Yeah.
Right? Or oh.
But you might not know the prices.
It's, well, I get that.
Exactly.
Prices.
What's that?
Especially now. I said, I definitely look at gas prices nowadays.
Well, yes, true.
Prices.
Point taken.
I think this helps aesthetically.
Yeah, I do too. The only concern I have is that you're putting this monument sign in the exact spot where there was an
got hit
accident and
already,
it got demolished. So, I mean, it's close to the road, and that is.
Begs a question.
And that does raise a question. I don't know how you
So
can.
now somebody's gonna hit it
Yeah.
another time.
All right, that's probably true, but I don't see that there is an alternative, but it is a little bit concerning that, the thing was at the same spot and it got demolished, so,
Although we don't know the
Why it got demolished.
Yeah, we don't know the circumstances, but,
When you're talking about a monument sign, you're talking about the sign on the pole?
Yeah.
yeah. Now, in terms of the size of the sign on the pole, I assume that you have, you're within the dimensions that are required? I mean, I think there, Anthony, aren't there dimensions for the size of the sign on the monument? I believe.
There are, and I don't see anything listed here that they were asking any relief for.
No, so I assume that you're meeting that, but it would
We
be,
submitted, I think even the proposed sign was submitted, I think, as part of one of the exhibits was actually the sign itself.
okay, I just didn't know what the, what the square footage was on the, whether it, I don't have the sign regulations memorized, let me put it that way. Oh, good.
I used to, but,
This is yours, right?
This
Do
is
you have
mine.
any other questions?
I don't. I agree with all the comments for the previous board members have stated. I'm very, very familiar with the area. I've been to the gas station, as Kevin said, probably hundreds of times over my course of driving, and I welcome the improvements. I'd just like to see it consistent with the circle. I know 7-Eleven's gonna be coming, and then across, we had the earlier this year, so just like mirror everybody's comments.
right. See, this is the.
Just to
I don't know if
clarify, there
that's
was
the
something,
sign there.
Is there a square footage on that?
4308, so 16 is the maximum.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Right, is there anybody else on the board who wishes to comment on this? Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on the Suffolk Realty application at 9 Lake Avenue? Anybody on Zoom?
No one. I'd like an idea of exactly what we're doing here.
Yeah,
Let's make a list of what it is that is actually
Okay, thank
an
you.
issue.
Let's make a list. All right, go ahead, John, do you have a couple of ideas of what the list is?
No, I want to, I'm hoping,
All right, I will
I
start.
mean, we can go through what's in the advertisement. So the height, the pyramid encroachment of 44.29 cubic feet.
That's for the sign,
The monument.
That's for the monument sign.
right.
So I think we discussed reducing that
Right.
consistent.
I don't know if that's gonna
Height,
necessarily. Yeah. I don't know
which
if
will
that's necessarily
affect,
gonna-
which will affect the pyramid.
Yeah,
It could affect the
slightly.
pyramid,
It's just
slightly.
a pole. I mean,
Yeah,
if you-
yeah, but I,
realistically.
yeah.
Right, so well, why don't we talk about what is the height being reduced to?
Well, we didn't want to plan
I
that for
think we're
them. I
prescribing
think
that.
the suggestion was to speak to Claire,
planning.
and she would have an idea about the
Okay,
height.
so there is going to be a reduction in the size of the pole.
Height of monument sign, okay.
In a manner consistent with the planning board's guidance, or something like that.
Perfect.
And then we talked about the thickness of the roof, and as to whether there was any kind of a
Way to reduce it.
yeah, a way to reduce it, or what's the bare minimum that you need for a roof, not
The height.
the thickness of the canopy.
Okay,
The
right.
roof,
couple
not
feet.
the height,
Not the height, okay,
but
got it.
the height is the height.
Okay, height of the canopy face actually.
Yeah, the canopy has to be a certain height because of the state, but the thickness of the canopy.
Just to diminish
Thickness
this.
of the roof.
Yeah.
Right, right.
And if I could add to that, and I know that what the purpose of this is you want to, I don't want to have people pumping gas while they're getting soaked. So I get it. At the same time, could you show us, or if the planning staff are satisfied, I withdraw the whole thing, but is the footprint of the canopy, can that be any smaller than it is?
All right. So
while
that's a
still
good-
serving its useful function, right? In other words, the designer would always say, well, we like to have 8 feet, but we're gonna make it 14, just because 14's bigger, right? And considering the degree of the variance requested, I'd appreciate seeing,
Notwithstanding the planning board's comments,
Yeah.
this is the board that's still granting the relief. So if there's a question about scale, you could still ask them to look at that. So I don't.
Well,
I
and you
would
know.
feel a lot better if it could be
That's a
smaller
legitimate-
and
so
still
there
serve
may-
its function.
There may be, some expertise in terms of what
What
the
you needed.
size of the canopy, the breadth of the canopy needs to be in order to provide the safety and the protection and the lighting and so if there can be some, discussion of that, or whether there is anybody who can comment that it's 14
what's
feet,
required.
but you could get by with 8, I don't know. Okay? All right, is there anything else that we're talking about here?
What about what's on the sign?
Oh, on the canopy.
No,
Oh,
on
the
the,
sign.
on the monument sign. So, planning recommended removal of food mart. Where are we with that? That is one of the requests.
I don't think that's in our variance, is it?
Yes, it is. To allow a pole sign to display additional wording, Shell, V-Power, and Food Mart, and
Oh, okay.
price in addition to the logo of the business. What is planning's
There was a
position on the logo?
compliance for food marts, well, I don't know if that was actually on the food mart itself or on the sign.
This issue popped up with Bola, for example,
Mm-hmm.
where the planning board's position was, since this is an accessory to the gas
I
station
see.
use, they didn't like the idea of calling these places marts and markets Bola. For example, is what they went with instead of Bola Market. So I think that's what they're positioning. It says here, no food mart sign, parentheses, convenience store accessory to a gas station, and reminiscent of the Bola application where they came in with Bola Market and just called it Bola. So,
Okay, can you just help me understand, if you know, why do they care?
I think from their perspective, it was the idea that if something is accessory to in other words, if this is accessory to a gas station, and the gas station is whatever the gas station is, having it labeled a certain way, it insinuates, it creates a specter that it's a primary use there.
Okay.
And it's an additional sign. I mean, that's why it's being advertised to allow pole sign to display additional words. That's what it is.
Right, and that
It's not
increases the
necessarily
size of,
regulating the speech, but how
Got it.
how many words are we putting on these?
Thank you.
Okay, so that we would not look favorably upon that. Is that the correct interpretation?
well, I would think so.
Okay.
I would think that we would follow planning's recommendation. And that would also potentially reduce the size of the variance needed for the size of the sign. Because right now, we've got a request for 43.08 square feet, where 16 feet is the maximum.
But if you look at that mock-up, it's quite small, the food mart piece. Look at that. I don't know how it actually changes the size.
What is planning's position on logos on that sign, the Shell V-Power on that
So
sign? Was
the-
any of that presented?
They say all of the signs shall be removed or brought into conformance. Again, they have signs and logos which are not permitted and shall be removed. Generally speaking, the planning board doesn't like franchise-style design in general.
And that's typical with every gas station you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Planning board wants compliance with the sign code. I mean, that's why they're here, because they're like, we need more, we need to change it. Electronic is easier to fix, it's easier to change the prices of the gas, it's easier to change, that's the testimony we get.
Did we allow logos on the monument sign on 7 Peconic? I
think
can't
so.
remember.
I think we did. I don't remember either.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
So.
Can we make it smaller?
So what I think John is suggesting is that you're asking for a variance on the size of the sign, and is there a way to make it smaller? And perhaps one of the ways, though it may not be significant, is to eliminate the reference to market. Okay?
But also to reduce, look, the way it's imaged is that one half of the sign is the Shell logo.
Yeah.
Do we need one half of the sign to be the Shell logo? Can the Shell logo be smaller?
I don't
Short
know
answer is
about
no.
the corporate, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I think we have dealt with this in the past, and we have allowed, you know, some,
We're asking the applicant to go back and.
Take a look.
Take a look and see where you
Yeah.
could, eliminate some of the signage. Listen, I've said this before, the Target in Bridgehampton is putting in gray or white bollards because the planning board said no on the red. They went back to corporate and they came back and they're putting in the white or gray. Planning board said no to red. So,
And red is Target's color.
that is the franchise color.
It's a Target.
Yeah, exactly. So,
But,
I mean, if that, I mean, I
So you
think.
can work with them. We're not telling Shell or anybody that they can't have their, something that identifies their brand. But what we are saying is go back and look at reducing some of these relief, to some extent. Bringing down the height, reducing the size, some stuff like that.
looking at the thickness of the canopy, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there are recommendations to franchisees, but there's not a requirement that they violate local laws. So I think going back and looking at those issues is reasonable.
All right, is there anything else on these that we need to address?
Rob, I had a question. Did initially Marge's comment in June had been that she hadn't seen the canopy, the signs on the canopy? Has she seen that yet?
What on the canopy?
The signs.
The logos?
The logos and everything, like, the planning board seemed to have feedback on it, but Marge's comments from June had just said renderings submitted for the canopy show shall signs. Plans for the signs were not submitted at the time of this review.
Yeah, okay.
I just wanna make sure that it
Yeah,
sounds like we have
this- we're
feedback.
talking about these two shell things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know.
Needs to know what the-
This is
That's-
just like
those are
more
the
or less
only-
a rendering.
Those are the only logos that are on the canopy,
Yeah.
the shell.
Yeah.
How many shell signs are there?
It's
One
more
on each
so
side?
given to show the canopy rather than the,
Right. How many are there? Is there one on each side of it, or are there four?
what's that?
How many,
The two
make
only.
me say it again? How many shell signs are?
Only two?
Only two.
Two
Okay.
shell signs.
It's not
Other
as easy as
sheets.
it sounds.
And she makes reference to a fence over 4 feet. Where is this fence?
I think in the back of the property, there's a fence that separates his property from there's like a beverage store next door.
Because, you know, you need to get a building permit for any fence that's over 4 feet. It wouldn't be an issue. I don't think it's in the back of your
Yeah,
property,
yeah.
but I do think that there may be some permit issues about the fence.
To what Katie was asking about, I don't see a request in the advertisement for the logos on the canopy.
So maybe they comply. I just wasn't sure.
Yeah,
He's
no,
raising the question.
that makes,
so-
no, yeah. Plans for it weren't submitted at the time of building department's review. I don't see the request for it so I don't know that the building department,
They may not have seen the plans for those signs that are on the canopy, so you need to talk to them about what they
and
need.
the signs have to comply with the sign code.
Yeah,
We haven't submitted any building,
okay, but they,
plan, building
all right, but
permits
she's,
or
all
anything
right,
else
so
like
she's
that.
saying you have to
because
you have to apply by.
We're here to see what we got before we.
Yeah, yeah, I
submit
get it.
anything. I
Okay.
mean, that's generally,
No, but again, it says renderings. Like, it looks like, your photo is kind of like a rendering, right?
yeah, it
So
is,
she-
yeah, it's a rendering,
Yeah, I
it's
just,
not necessarily a plan,
well, let's just make,
obviously.
let's make sure that you don't need any variances for whatever is proposed on the canopy. And if you do, and you can live without the shell
Right, are you gonna
signs-
comply with the code?
Right.
The sign code, and if not, then you would need to come back,
Right.
and that needs to be part of this application.
Okay, so you need to check with the building department on that. And the 4-foot fence requirement, and then site plan prepared, revised to include total lot coverage. Okay?
Yep.
You got her comments on
Yep,
that, so,
I do.
before we come up with any kind of a grant of a variance, those need to be addressed. All right, did we cover everything that we need?
That's enough.
Did we?
I mean, I think there's a lot for them to think about,
Well,
and
I
and
think
they
you
need
gave
to
them
come
some
back
feedback to,
with-
where they could reduce some
Yeah,
of the
I mean, this
relief.
is gonna be, you're gonna have to come back. This is not a written submission. This is, and particularly in light of the fact that you're gonna have the planning department's comments as well. So you're gonna have to deal with that, so. Okay, Robert, this is yours. right?
How do we want to put this out? We've got a lot of stuff to do, right?
Yeah, so we want to adjourn, you hold it over, and
8:20 is our next meeting open, August 20th.
August 20th. Can you make that, or do you want to do September?
You want to go to September?
Do you have anybody, did you ask about the audience?
Oh.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, we did.
You did.
I did ask, all right, well, if I didn't, is there anybody in the audience?
You
who
did,
was
and then
just-
I jumped in and started up
Okay.
talking again.
Okay,
so-
maybe that was it, I got
Yeah, I
distracted.
confused everyone.
Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard?
No one.
Okay, all right, good.
So, do you want 8:20, or do you want to go to September 3rd or 17th?
Why don't we go to September 3, I guess, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so
so we're going to hold this
we'll
up.
hold it open, hearing until September 3rd.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Mastonio?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. King?
Aye.
Mr. Slegin?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Number
you. Thank
8
you very
on the
much.
agenda, application of Clover House LLC, 29 Peconic Avenue, Noyak, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-3-1-18.1. Come on down.
We haven't heard it yet.
I originally had thought I'd stand at the podium, but there's a microphone, so I'm up here with you.
We lost a microphone somewhere along the way. It used to be one up there.
Okay, Martha, just introduce yourself and your address, please.
Yes. Good evening, members of the zoning board. My name is Martha Reichert. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Toomey, Latham, Shea, Kelly, Dubin, and Quartararo, 33 West 2nd Street, Riverhead, New York, for the applicant Clover House LLC, which is the owner of 29 Peconic Avenue in Noyak. This is an appeal regarding seeking a determination and review by the zoning board of a stop work order that was issued on February 4th, 2026 by code enforcement. The stop work order cites Southampton Town Code Section 325-6A4, construction in a wetland area without a permit, and Section 123-9A, building, requiring a building permit for a dock that has been built as a freestanding structure wholly located in the waters of Little Peconic Bay, which are state-owned waters. And so, prior to this appeal, Katie reached out to me and said that there might be a jurisdictional issue for the board. So I wasn't sure if you had internally already made some sort of review and decision on that, or if you wanted me to speak to the board's jurisdiction generally.
I think you should speak to the board's jurisdiction. As I had told the board and I had told Martha, a lot of times you get appeals, many times you get appeals from code enforcement, from the building department, from public safety, and typically it's very obvious what the jurisdiction is because there's a section of the code that you can identify, like a change of use. There's a definition, we've seen them for plant nurseries, we've seen them for landscape, where somebody had a junkyard and it was expanded and they say change of use and that's within your jurisdiction. I had mentioned to Martha, I don't believe the board has any jurisdiction over any kind of wetlands issues, chapter 325, this board does not bury them. We don't hear appeals from them. We do hear appeals from the building department, but normally that's because somebody has built a pool without a permit, and we know that pools are regulated because pools are structures, and we know what the setbacks are. And I don't see the jurisdictional issue, but that's not for me to decide, that's for the board to decide. Certainly I'm going to guide you, but I think Martha is entitled to pitch to you why she thinks it is appropriately before you.
Or why I've come before this board.
Okay.
There you have it.
Sure.
None of this has been a secret, so.
So, at the crux of this appeal is a jurisdictional issue, in addition to the jurisdictional issue that I'm about to address, which is that this dock is not located within the town of Southampton. As I said before, it is entirely seaward of the mean high water line. It is located within the underwater lands of Little Peconic Bay, which is wholly owned by the state of New York. That is uncontroverted. The dock in question was built with all of the state and federal permits and approvals that are required. So the question is whether or not, pursuant to the stop work order that was issued, a wetlands permit is required or a building permit. So I want to be clear about the board's role. Chapter 325 was not enacted in 1993 under Town Law Article 16. There is a Court of Appeals case that says if some part of a, municipalities, local laws or ordinances are enacted pursuant to Article 16 of the New York Town Law, then it would be appropriate for the zoning board to review it. There have been subsequent amendments to Chapter 325 in which Article 16 of the New York Town Law was invoked. But I went and I pulled the resolution approving, creating Chapter 325 in 1993, and it only cites the town board's powers under the general municipal law. So I want to be clear about that, which I think is some of what Katie was alluding to. However, we're not asking you to review a decision that was made by the Conservation Board or to issue a wetlands permit. The role here is much narrower, and I believe well within your authority, which is to review a determination regarding enforcement that is embodied in a stop work order and to interpret the zoning map and the zoning district boundary, which are also in the town code powers that the zoning board has. Town Code Section 330-165 expressly authorizes the board to decide an appeal alleging that the building inspector erred as to the exact location of a district's boundary, as shown on the zoning map. But going back to sort of the enabling legislation that pertains to zoning boards, New York Town Law, Section 267A, confirms your appellate jurisdiction, that this board has over orders, requirements, decisions, interpretations, and determinations made by the administrative official charged with enforcement of a zoning ordinance or local law. And what we have here is a stop work order. So I feel like it falls under that definition in the town law of 267A of an order, requirement, and decision, because it required the property owner to apply for a building permit and a conservation board wetlands permit. Simultaneously with the issuance of the stop work order, the town also commenced an enforcement action in justice court. And so, of course, the only way to appeal the stop work order under the law.
Who issued the stop work order?
Enforcement.
Code enforcement.
Town code enforcement.
And did
Okay.
they, okay.
And code enforcement issued the stop work order saying that your client needs a wetlands permit.
A wetlands permit and a building permit.
It said that in the,
Yes, that's on the face of,
had you applied for a building permit?
no, because the
Well, I
whole,
know-
yeah.
I mean, in other words, you haven't gotten a denial of a building permit.
Correct, but we're already in justice court.
All right, but I just wanted to, we're talking about the jurisdictional issue.
Sure,
And what our role is vis-à-vis what the, current status is, which is a stop work order based on not getting a wetlands permit. I didn't see that it also
Or,
included.
wait, but go back to the
I
building.
don't know if it, did it also say or a building permit?
It says both.
Okay, so hold on, so let's
Never
follow
applied
that
for
train of thought, the building permit train of thought. So what was going on at the time? Remind me, what was going on at the time that the stop work order was issued?
The town had proposed legislation to ban docks in the Peconic Bays.
Right.
Okay.
So this,
They proposed, or was it already passed?
it was enacted afterwards, I believe in March or April.
Okay.
But prior to the enactment of the dock ban, the town issued to 3 different property owners, the ones who have docks that are fully constructed and built, again, with all state and federal permits. They simultaneously issued stop work orders and commenced enforcement actions in justice court.
For the removal of the docks?
Well, I don't know if it's, no, it's a violation based on not having a wetlands permit and a
Building. And a building permit. Okay, so the stop work is not, and your client's dock was already built?
Correct.
Okay, so it's
Can I
not
get-
like.
Can I get one point clarified?
Yeah, please.
Put aside the ban on certain docks in the Peconic. would the applicant have had to get a conservation board approval or a trustee approval for the dock that was installed?
Well, we're jumping ahead a little bit into the merits of the appeal, so I think that.
Well, no, I'm just trying to understand I'm still trying to understand what the permit obligation that would have normally been within our jurisdiction is. And I'm having some trouble with that.
I think that's the question.
Yeah, I think.
That's the question.
Martha is saying it's not within our
Argue that you need both
jurisdiction.
permits. I mean, that's
Yeah,
why I
and
think
they're
that's
arguing that it's outside of the jurisdiction of the town, and it's, so that's the
Well,
basis of the
if they needed a
problem.
conservation board permit to put in a dock and they didn't get it, and they.
They're
and they-
arguing they don't.
Well, here,
No, I understand that, but even if you had a beef with the conservation board, we don't grant those appeals, right?
Right.
No one ever comes before us and says, I disagree with this wetland setback.
Right.
we don't have a beef with the Conservation Board. We have a stop work order issued by code
Code
enforcement.
enforcement,
And the law says that the zoning board has jurisdiction to hear and interpret and determine orders and determinations made by the administrative official charged with enforcing local laws and ordinances pertaining to
Zoning.
town zoning.
yeah, but is it to the zoning code, or is
Well,
it?
it's, yes, my position, and Martha even reiterated it, it has to do with Article 16 of New York State law, which has to do with zoning. So I say, you don't have the jurisdiction to hear this. This has something to do with a failure to obtain a building permit and a failure to obtain a wetlands permit, which has to do with Chapter 325.
Keep going.
All right, so let me keep going, because if you decide you want to hear a little bit more on the merits, then we'll get there to answer a lot of the other questions. So again, 267A provides the jurisdiction of the board to hear interpretations of orders and requirements made by an administrative official. 267B supplies the remedy. The board may reverse, affirm, or modify the order or determination appealed from, and may make the determination that in the board's opinion ought to have been made by the administrative official. That's Town Law 267B1. Now, the courts have treated stop work orders as matters that must be appealed to the zoning board when they rest on zoning and related building enforcements. I mean, I don't know if you guys want the case citation, I'm happy to give it to you. So here, even if the applicant wanted to seek judicial review, there is a requirement under Article 78 of the CPLR, the Civil Procedure Rules and Laws.
Exhausting remedies, right?
To exhaust your administrative remedies, correct? So we are here in part because we have a requirement to exhaust our administrative remedies. And the zoning board is the only board to do that before. Now, again, if you decide you don't have jurisdiction to hear it, then that is a different thing. So what we're asking is the board to determine whether or not code enforcement should have issued that stop work order. Because the town code provisions cited in the stop work order do not apply to this dock. So before I go any further, are there any?
Well, it seems to me like if we were not to take jurisdiction of this, it would then evade review.
Well, it would, or
It could
clear
evade-
the hurdle for,
Yeah.
because we've
It would meet the
exhausted our,
administrative.
to take
yes,
it, to take an appeal
exactly.
to the
Article
Supreme Court.
78, yeah.
And Katie, can you say again, are you saying that it is outside the jurisdiction of this zoning board?
Yes, I'm saying you don't have jurisdiction over this.
Because-
This isn't an appealable order to you. There are many appealable orders to you. This just isn't one of them. And again, we've never seen one like this. We've never seen one that triggered this type of a review. But this board has said to people before, you can't appeal this to us. We had one where somebody had tried to appeal the opinion of the town attorney. And this board had said, that's not that person has made a zoning determination, but that's not appealable to us. That's not the person who's in charge of this. The board had seen another one where a neighbor was challenging a pre-existing use on a property. They had said it had been expanded. Code enforcement had said there is no violation. The neighbor appealed that to you. And we had said that the finding of no violation isn't an appealable, we can't provide that remedy.
Right, but have we had cases where we have taken on the appeal of a stop work order? It is an order.
When it's
Okay.
related to a specific zoning building issue.
provision.
Because your interpretation, and I don't disagree that that the applicant needs to try to exhaust her administrative remedies. I mean, it would be terrible to go to court and have them say, go back to the ZBA.
Right.
But a finding of no jurisdiction is still.
A determination.
Is still exhausting your administrative.
So hold on, but see, I'm feeling like we may have jurisdiction over the building permit aspect of it, but not the conservation board aspect of it. That's where my mind is circling. That's what I'm wondering about.
And
Because
my
if,
sense is, no, we don't
Well-
have jurisdiction.
understood, but you have to articulate reasons for it.
So,
Because it's in state land, it's not even.
so I think that if you let me get to a little bit of the merits of the
Yeah, go
appeal,
ahead.
it might
Yes.
help you with your jurisdictional determination. The reason why we do not believe, right, and why we're seeking this board to reverse and annul the stop work order is that the order fails on 3 independent reasons. First is that the dock, being located in the state-owned waters of Little Peconic Bay, is outside of the actual physical boundaries of the town of Southampton. And the law that I am drawing from there is very straightforward, which is that going all the way back to the colonial patents, right? The Andros patent and then the Dongan patent, the boundaries of the town of Southampton were defined by boundaries. And in 1903, the town of Southold, in a case called Parks versus Southold, and it went all the way up to the Court of Appeals and was affirmed in 1905, affirmed that neither the town of Southampton nor the town of Southold owned any portion of the Peconic Bay because it is not located within the boundaries of the town as it was described in the colonial patents. Again, the trustees of the freeholders, they generally regulate docks. They do not regulate docks anymore in the Peconic Bay. They did up until about 1933, on the basis that Little Peconic Bay is not enough of an interior bay to be considered within the town of Southampton, right? The town zoning map and this property is located in the R20 district, stops very clearly at the shoreline. And the dock here is seaward of that boundary. So that's one of the things that, again, the town code authorizes you to make a determination is whether or not the town zoning district extends beyond the mean high water line or if it ends where the town's boundary ends.
So Martha, just to stop there, if it stops at the zone stops at the border, at the water or whatever, then why would we be able to make a determination as to something that was implied beyond there? In other words, like if you get a code enforcement that you can't do this, it's not even in the zone. We're not even in a zone.
That's the whole point.
That's the point.
So that's the point.
So
That's the point.
So why would we be then?
But does the dock begin
Well, but-
in the town of Southampton?
It does not. It is a freestanding independent structure that is not physically.
So how does a
connected to the
person
bulkhead.
get from the land?
So the bulkhead is the mean high water line, and there's a gap of a couple inches you step over.
But can I also ask you that, I understand that you need a wetlands permit if you're within 200 feet of the wetlands.
That is only partially accurate, and so.
It's part of chapter 325, which has nothing to do with this board.
Sure,
I mean, you
that's
can see
right.
where this
But-
conversation
yeah,
is going,
right,
right? I mean,
but
this is not.
exactly.
So,
I'm sorry, what's the exception? What's the
You
distinction?
know,
I have
for
no
us to
idea.
make
It's
a
part of chapter
determination, the
325.
zoning ends at the
Okay.
water line is
Well,
like outside of our scope.
here's the very, again, like I said, if I go into the merits, I think that I can help you a little
Keep
bit,
going.
which is, and just to give you a little bit of familiarity, in the time that I was an assistant town attorney, I was counsel to the Conservation Board and the trustees. So I'm very familiar with Chapter 325. But Chapter 325, and it's Chapter 325, Section 4, which discusses the applicability and requirement for a wetlands permit, states that Chapter 325 applies to all regulated lands within the town of Southampton. And furthermore, if the activity is occurring on bottom lands that are underwater lands within the town of Southampton, which means they are owned by the trustees of the freeholders, there is no wetlands permit requirement. And so, and vice versa, if a trustee permit is issued for anything, no wetlands permit. There's no such thing as concurrent jurisdiction between the Conservation Board and the trustees. They are independent. And that goes back again to the very unique colonial history, which is that in Nassau and Suffolk County, the right to regulate docks flows to, normally it goes straight to New York State. New York State reserves the right to regulate docks. It's different from navigation and other aspects as the sort of the sovereign. However, because of our colonial history in Nassau and Suffolk County, towns, because again of the patents, own underwater lands, right? And so the right to regulate docks is inherently tied to the ownership of the bottom lands upon which that dock sits. So in Southampton, the trustees regulate all docks that are within the town of Southampton, right? Again, it's that within aspect and where the boundary of the town is. That is why there is no building permit issued for a dock within the town of Southampton. There is no wetlands permit issued for a dock within the town of Southampton because the trustees regulate that solely, and that's been upheld by numerous different courts. There was a case in 1984, State versus the trustees of Southampton, right, that talks about the trustees' ownership and authority with respect to the bottom lands is that it would continue and persist even if the town of Southampton as a municipal corporation ceased to exist. And the town code recognizes that. Chapter 111 of the town code says you shall not build a dock within the town of Southampton unless you get a permit from the trustees. So to write a stop work order that says that a dock requires a building permit, we don't even have to go into the wetland permit, but a building permit is the wrong permitting framework under the entire town code, because it's very clear that if a dock is within town waters, then the trustees regulate it and issue the permit. They are the sole local permitting authority for docks within the town of Southampton. So there cannot be a scenario where the town, the municipal corporation of the town, regulates a dock, because that means that they're outside of their territorial boundaries. And the law is very clear that the zoning power ends at the municipal boundaries, right?
I'm not buying this.
Well,
And
I'm not
so-
either, but I you know, I
Look, it's
think,
not whether or not you buy it.
Yeah.
This is just, again, I do not believe this is properly before you. I understand the academic exercise in making the application. I know that it's required. It couldn't be more clear after Martha's presentation that it just hasn't triggered any type of zoning for you.
that's the way I feel.
That's the way I feel.
And I think that this is a decision that needs to go to
Supreme Court.
Supreme Court. I mean, this is outside of our jurisdiction, and we should not be opining on this, in my opinion.
Well, and Kevin, it's not for me to advise you, but if the I'm not buying it is based on the fact that you believe we want to protect waterways and contain the construction of docks, that's just not us, is the thing.
No, I understand. I mean, the difficulty I'm having with this is, the point Katie just made. It's like, we have no appealable function here that I believe. I'm not the lawyer, but we have no appealable function here because the issue is whether a wetlands permit should have been issued for the dock, leaving the edge of the property and having does the town have jurisdiction of waters adjacent to its specific boundary? I mean, I happen to know the town has an ordinance that says jet skis can't go faster than some speed within 500 feet of the water.
Yes.
If it were true,
That is under the navigation law and under town law 130, where municipalities are permitted to regulate navigation such as speeds, vessels, moorings even, but courts are very, very clear that that is not the same as the construction of docks. So I understand, yes, the town has many, many functions where they can regulate navigation aspects in accordance to the powers that are granted to them under town law, but docks are not included. And again, court cases are very clear that the authority under the New York State Town Law, including Town Law Section 130, do not include the regulation of docks.
Well, my good friend John always asks smart lawyers to brief us with your main arguments. And that would be lovely to have.
I fully would have put in a memorandum of law on the merits of the matter. However, because Katie reached out to me saying that there was inherently a potential jurisdictional issue, I felt that if this board was to determine that it did have jurisdiction, then I would request an adjournment and of course give you a fulsome memorandum of law on the
And Katie,
issues.
do we have to have a unanimous decision about our jurisdiction?
Well, I mean, no, we don't have to have a unanimous decision.
Regular board vote.
I would say, I mean, I understand Martha's request, but I honestly, if you would be interested, I wouldn't mind reading a brief on why you think the board has jurisdiction. I mean, I don't think the board does. If the board agrees,
Well,
I'm happy to write a decision that says the board does not have jurisdiction, so you have your, your
I mean,
final
let me ask you
determination.
this. I'm not convinced of all of it, but
You're not convinced
I'm
of all
not
of what?
convinced that we don't have jurisdiction, at
Okay.
least over some part of it, and that's the thing that's getting me caught up.
Here,
I don't think we have jurisdiction over the wetlands portion of it, but the fact that it's combined in one stop work order, because I think the building permit part is a little more questionable for me, and I would really like to hear more about that. Just because we do have jurisdiction over determinations made by the building department all the time.
Except as I understand it, that the stop work order is a result of code enforcement in consultation with the environmental division. So the not the building
Right,
department, but
right.
the environmental division asked them to do a stop work order. And in my opinion, that means that we should not be involved.
Typically, those permits go hand in hand. Typically, when you need, and again, Martha's saying you don't need a wetlands permit, but typically, if you need a wetlands permit, you also get a building permit, because the wetland, the conservation board says, issue the building permit, here is your wetlands permit, and then the building department issues a building permit. And typically, the building department knows what the setbacks are, knows what the height is, knows what the zoning is. And that's why I'm saying, even though there is a building component to this, which you typically do review, it's impossible to review it because you don't know what the zoning violation is, because there are no setbacks required. If, let's say the building department said they're not compliant with a setback. They're supposed to have a 40-foot setback from the rear property line, and Martha says, my rear property line is 20 feet underwater, right? And then maybe then you could look at that, like, does it comply with the setback? But
No, in this case, the property line is the filed subdivision map, and that's actually at the top of the bluff. So the land in between was owned at some point by the Noyak Cottage Association. I mean, but that's getting a little bit too far.
Yeah, let's not get into the weeds on this.
I was trying to show you.
It seems to me that regardless, you can't tease the two apart. Would that be correct? That you really can't tease the two apart?
I mean, here's the thing, is that
One falls with the other.
the town of
John,
Southampton
if you
doesn't
couldn't
issue building permits for docks.
Yeah, but if you
Trustees
couldn't
do.
tease them apart, and we said, vacate the stop work order, we would be vacating also the other half of it.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, if you were to tease the two apart, would you be able to do a piecemeal decision where you deal with just the building permits?
But what is the building part?
Hold
That's
on,
the thing.
just let me finish.
Okay, sorry.
I have a valid question.
I know
It's
you
like,
do.
come on. So if you could tease out the building permit part, you still have the wetlands part. We can, and I don't feel that we can render a decision with regard to that. We're not competent to do that.
Right.
And we're not authorized to do that. So it seems to me like it would be a futile exercise.
Yeah.
I'm
And
not
there's
sure I
nothing in the
see-
wetland ordinance, because I was around when it got created. It was by design that the Conservation Board would be the permitting entity and not the ZBA, and the ZBA would have no appealable function in that, because the theory was the Conservation Board members had a higher level of expertise in impacts related to wetlands than, with all due respect, prior board members and this board and what its function is.
Well, and the Conservation Board is able to vary their own provisions.
Yeah. Exactly. And we never rule on whether or not a wetlands permit is required.
Getting to what you were saying, John, about teasing the two apart, I'm not, it's not a foregone conclusion that you can't separate them. I just don't know how you can identify the building part of it. Was, I mean, I guess that's what I was saying to Martha. How do you identify the building part of this?
Yeah, why did the building department determine a permit was required?
They didn't, it was code enforcement.
They didn't.
Why did code enforcement do that? What were the reasons given? Or we don't know?
It sounds like the environmental folks called them and said.
No, because I can tell you that there's never been a building permit issued for a dock in the town of Southampton because.
Can I ask a different question? Has a zoning board ever overturned a stop work order issued for any other code enforcement issue that was remotely like this?
They weren't necessarily stop work orders, but they could be notices of violations or violations, where either, typically the property owner says this was issued in error. I got a notice of violation and I have not changed the use of my property. And then this board, like Martha had said, you sit in the seat of, you act as if.
But at least it's regarding the zoning code and an issue about.
Yes, and it's something that you could open up chapter 330 and say,
Correct.
oh, here's the definition.
One of the reasons why there is a second component to this appeal is because you do have express authority under the town code to determine the boundaries of the zoning districts, right? And here's where there is a zoning component, which is if you go to the use table, which is part of the zoning code, a dock is a permitted accessory structure in all residential districts. But I think, again, that presumes that we're talking about areas that are within the town of Southampton. So, again, I have put before you the various different things. As I said, I have a requirement to exhaust my administrative remedies. And so, if this
Martha,
board.
can I ask
yes.
you a question?
Sure.
Is it your desire that we assert jurisdiction and then overturn the stop work? Or would you be just as happy, and I know that's an odd question, to just have us decline jurisdiction and move on because your administrative remedies are exhausted and you get to keep going? Because either way,
Yeah.
the matter's going to be addressed.
Yes, I think that while it would be lovely for this board to take jurisdiction and determine some of the issues, by me coming to you and you making a determination, right, that gives me the procedural pathway to take this to a forum where there is, without a doubt, jurisdiction to hear some of these legal issues.
Why wouldn't your client just apply for a wetlands permit and?
Because there's no new docks allowed.
It's now pre-existing
No,
non-conforming.
it's now pre-existing
Yeah, they
non-conforming.
have like a new
But
law.
also, that would concede that it's
Right.
Within the
Within the jurisdiction of
jurisdiction of the town.
conservation.
Yeah.
I certainly am not going to start applying for permits the town doesn't have jurisdiction over.
Exactly.
That's a problem.
Okay, we need to.
All right, I think this is a very complicated issue. I think there has been a sense that perhaps you could brief a little bit on this. I don't know, Katie, does that make sense for you to have Martha brief us, or?
It's up, again, It's up
I
to-
honestly, my gut reaction without looking in depth at what you would present is that we at least do not have jurisdiction over part of this code enforcement. So, at the minimum.
Exactly.
So I personally think that it would be saving a lot of time for us to just say we don't have jurisdiction and letting you move on, having sought your administrative remedy with us. There may be other places in the town that you can sue, but it gives you then the freedom to get to the next level. Because honestly, we're not going to be deciding this It's certainly in its full bloom.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm comfortable with an up-down here, and
Yeah.
I'm of the mind we don't have
Yeah, I
jurisdiction.
don't think we need a memo. I think I'm.
All right,
no
I mean,
jurisdiction.
Even with respect to the determination of the boundaries of the zoning district?
Yes.
Well,
Because that's one small aspect of
If we
it.
get a majority of people saying we don't have jurisdiction, why would we need a memo?
Yeah, okay.
Well, Martha may want it for the record.
You can submit it for the record, but I think you're getting a sense,
No,
but you're.
I'm fine.
Yeah, it's like, I don't need extra work.
I'm sure my client would appreciate it as well.
Okay.
So do we, does
We
someone
vote
need
now?
to move something?
No, I think, well,
We do like
close it.
we always do.
Yes.
We're gonna put this, we're going to, put this on for continued written comments, and then we're going to
Render a decision.
render a decision on, what is it, August?
August 6th. We're gonna
But
go,
we're closing the public hearing and then
Yes.
leaving the written comment period open for how long?
Well, the written comment period is,
7/17,
July
and decision
17th.
8/6.
and then with a decision on August 6th.
Second.
Does anyone in the audience have
All right,
comments?
is there anybody in the audience who wishes to comment?
Daphne, you,
Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to comment?
No one.
Okay, all right, so that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so, this is, whose is this? Robert,
This is Bob's.
This is yours.
This-
So
this
this
is
is
mine.
the motion, yeah.
so I am making the motion to close the public hearing, hold it open for written decisions until 7/17 with a decision on 8/6.
Second.
Mr. Mastonia.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Redden.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you, Martha. That was a very interesting explanation.
It was a law school exam.
Yeah, right.
Okay, number 10 on the agenda, 84 Scotts Landing Road LLC, 84 Scotts Landing Road, North Sea, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-43-1-23.
Thank you. You're a legend. And thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I think we've all been sworn in. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't think I was sworn in last time.
Awesome.
You were in the audience, right? Okay, so let's swear you in. You're not an attorney, are you? Okay. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please state your name and address.
Ryan Beagle,
All right, Ryan.
for Scotts Landing.
So where are we on this?
We are back. At the last meeting, we discussed demolition of the existing two-story residence and construction of a new one, as well as removal of an existing unpermitted carport and a permitted shed that is very close to the street and property line to be replaced with a detached garage. We were mainly seeking pyramid variances for the residents and also for the garage, and also some setback variances for the garage as well. The board had comment on the amount of pyramid for both the house and the garage and asked us to, as usual, be creative. After the meeting, during the meeting, I mentioned a change to the New York State Building Code that became effective December 31st, 2025. Whereas if you have a property that is in what is considered a shaded X zone for FEMA, that there was an additional 18 inches of height required. However, when we submitted our application, before we submitted it, I had met with Sean McDermott, and he basically just said, well, you just need to add 18 inches to however you would determine the grades, et cetera. So this was not in a flood zone, so we just took the average natural grade, which is what you would typically do, and added 18 inches. So that was what our initial submission showed. So I went back to Sean, and Katie was at that meeting, to say, can you confirm that what we did is correct? And if it's not, what is correct? So Sean, who, by the way, did not receive clarification on this law until almost April from New York State, but was supposed to be enforcing it all that time, said that how it's being interpreted is that you need to take the next closest, what's the least restrictive adjacent flood zone, and that is what you're supposed to build to. So in this case, the least restrictive adjacent flood zone is a VE elevation 8.
You guys got a memo from Sean on that?
Yes.
And how different is that than what you initially showed us?
So there's a couple of things that we learned in this. Number one, we initially took the pyramid from a foot too low. So we had to raise that in our drawings, which helped us. We also learned that because it's now being considered a VE flood zone, that we are no longer allowed to have a basement of any kind. So that is a huge problem because in the past, this was considered an X zone, whether it was shaded or unshaded. Theoretically, in an X zone, you can do anything. You can have a basement, you don't need flood vents, you don't need to worry about mechanical levels, storage, all that stuff. It's all good. So this is a huge burden to the owners.
Which the current home does currently have, that we purchased a full basement.
Yes.
With all mechanicals, storage, with additional space down there.
So to comply with that, they have to lose a basement. And that makes the garage that we're seeking much more important. Because
Where would you put the mechanicals, in the garage?
Yes.
Okay.
So, so to continue with our being creative, to try to further reduce pyramid, we also reduced the ceiling height by another foot on the first floor, right? Basically, yeah, it was what, 10 feet, went down to 9. So our initial pyramid for the house that we were seeking was 1,787 cubic feet. With these necessary clerical and design changes, we bring it down to 810.2 cubic feet, which is a reduction of 54% from our initial request.
And that's the reduction of the ceiling height plus the increase in the elevation, where
Yes.
you start your calculation for pyramid.
Yes.
Okay.
We also reduced the second story ceiling.
Well, actually, yeah, John.
The floor, what we did was we pulled, originally my drawing showed 18 inches of framing because I had some long spans. Now I had to take 6 inches out of that, so I have 12 inches. So I gotta have some heavy steel in that floor to span 30 feet, you know. So I was anticipating it having to be bigger, but I took 6 inches there where I could.
So it's a reduction of a foot and a half.
Plus we
We
gained.
went up a foot and a half with the line.
Yeah.
Right.
So that really, that's where we got a lot of that square footage, not
So-
in more than half.
All right, so on the main structure, it's 810.
Yes.
And that,
So, we submitted these drawings, and in the drawings, the first page, the red, shows our recent submission, the changes that we just discussed, versus the blue of what was portrayed originally. And then we go to the garage. So after the meeting I had with Sean, John kind of started scratching his head and went back to the drawing board and kind of realized that his math was a little
The
incorrect.
garage, it's very close to the property line, and that pyramid has to start at grade. It doesn't, because it's not habitable space, it has to be at the elevation 9, right where everything is, so.
The garage doesn't get the elevation.
We don't get
All
the
right.
the privilege or the benefit of that. So when I went back, I looked at it, I'm like, this doesn't seem right, it was like 1,200 square feet, I might double check. So if you look at my drawing, I did a grid matrix, so you do the math and come up with, so I have 2 versions of the garage. So once I checked it, instead of being 1,200, it's more like 822 cubic feet encroachment of our original design. But then I went a step further on the second page, and instead of being a gabled roof, I made it a hip roof, which took off little triangles on the end. So that reduced it down to 7. So it's still an encroachment, but it is what we would consider something we would need now, because you can't put mechanicals in the house without making the house even bigger. longer, which they didn't want to do. They don't want to get any closer to the backyard pool, and we can't go forward. So what we're gonna do is do a mechanical room in the garage and have, underground pipes and run everything, big concrete pipes to get it to the house.
So is it fair to say you think you have more of a necessity argument because the mechanicals can't go in the basement?
Absolutely. The mechanicals have to be, so the lowest horizontal member, meaning the bottom of the first floor for a VE flood zone, has to be now at the elevation plus 3.5 feet. So we're at VE elevation 8, which means the bottom of your floor joists have to be at elevation 11.5. And mechanicals have to meet that same thing. So the mechanicals would either have to take up first floor space, which is obviously very valuable, or we put them in the garage and make sure that they're elevated to that 11.5 elevation.
So right now, we have a total for the primary residence, 810.2 cubic feet.
Yes,
And for the garage, 770 cubic feet.
770.
And that's
yes.
it.
Yes.
Significant
Well,
reduction.
and then there are the setback variances that we
course.
discussed last time, which
Right.
are actually better than those that were originally granted for the shed that's there, that's non-conforming. Again, this is a non-conforming lot in R15. It's supposed to have a 100-foot lot width. We have 61.85, I believe it is, as a lot width, so we're constrained in that way. We're also on the bay. Granted, the mean high water mark is rather far away. We have letters of non-jurisdiction from the town. We are still waiting on that DEC issuance. So just, and then the last thing is I handed out tonight this chart with other variances that were issued, because I had mentioned it last time that I did the research and was asked, do I have the proof? So this is the proof.
The thing is, Daphne, they're all very old.
Thank you.
It's not
And
this
that's
board.
why, honestly, and I think I said this on the record last time, that's why I didn't even bother presenting it.
Right,
Because
right.
I know that you don't care. Because you specifically,
They don't care.
No, we care, but they're not compelling because it's,
but you know, they are, you can see, I show you the lot
No,
widths are very
appreciate
comparable, and also that, I mean, these pyramid amounts are huge, and
Yeah.
part of the thing is that a lot of those houses on these narrow lots become, and I know Ryan feels this way, that they're box over boxes, and you wanna do something with character, you want something to be
Certainly looks
beautiful.
like that's what you're aiming for, yeah.
We're intentionally not trying to increase the floor plan because we want it to be tasteful. We want it to fit on the lot and look like it's supposed to be there with a yard still for children to play in, not just be a container home that fills up every single inch of the property.
Well, we appreciate that. And we also appreciate the fact that you were very creative in coming back to us. And then you also got clarification on the elevation, which was,
It was very confusing
very
because
confusing. And Katie, thank
this all
you
just
with
changed.
Sean to get that
Daphne's
done.
always a guinea pig. She's always gotta hunt Sean down and set up the meetings and
Yeah.
get it done. She's very efficient.
Thank you, because, it's helpful for the next case. I mean, there'll be some clarification on that.
Also, I feel, the client was anticipating a basement, and that's a lot, it's a third of the house, and there's a lot of stuff I had to try to figure out that they're losing. That's why the hardship argument, I guess, for the mechanicals, at least in the garage.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I always thought the garage was like, oh, no one's gonna, it's very close,
But I
but
appreciate the fact that you looked at the roof and you decided to do a different kind of a construction on the roof to bring down the pyramid, so, yeah.
I mean, I have to say, I appreciate the changes you've made. I'm comfortable at this point. I do think there may be other members of the board who have questions.
I'm comfortable with everything.
I think you've done a really good job.
Great
And
job.
I personally appreciate it. I don't know how the rest of the board feels. I mean, for us to go from thousands to down to, I don't know, how many,
No,
1,500?
it's
Yeah,
less than half.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
much appreciated, thank you.
Yes. All
So,
right. So, on that basis,
It
is there
sounds-
anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on this application? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 84 Scott's Landing?
No one.
Okay, Julie.
okay. So we are going to close the public hearing, keep it open for written submissions until July 17 with a decision on August 6th.
Second.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Mastro.
Aye.
Mr. Redhand.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you
Thank you.
very
Thank
much
you
for
so
your
much.
help.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Okay, number 11 on the agenda, 19 Bay Drive LLC. 19 Bay Drive, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-269-1-46.
Where's your friend, James?
All right. Was there a submittal on this?
Yes, we've got
I
it,
didn't
we got
see
it
it.
in the package today.
Okay.
Susan, I'm recusing myself on this.
Okay, Helen. Thank you.
So come get you if you want to sit in the hall or if you just want to sit there.
Where's he?
Good evening, members of the board.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
before that.
Just reintroduce yourself, please.
James Vlahadamis Law PLLC, Hadamis, 148 East Montauk Highway, Suite 3, Hampton Bays, New York, 11946 for the applicant.
Okay. So where are we?
Okay, so we've submitted based upon our last meeting, which was quite some time ago because we were waiting for the DEC letter of non-jurisdiction, which we've received. We've submitted to the board. We then modified the plan, so we submitted a cover letter and the required 11 sets of the full set of plans and renderings, the landscape site plan, which was requested by a board member previously, changes to the plans and projects, and then a stamp survey with the pyramid calculations, which was also at issue at our last meeting. So the dimensions of the house, proposed house, are not at issue with respect to pyramid calculations. Oh, and before I forget, I'm very sorry. We have Rocco Lettieri, the designer he's on the Zoom tonight.
Okay.
Rocco, have I
sworn in, yeah.
sworn you in?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, go ahead.
So we have changed the pool orientation to comply with the non-disturbance zone. That's depicted on the survey and also depicted on the modified plans. So you'll see that we changed the orientation
Okay.
specifically to comply with that non-disturbance line. And you will see, I kind of, there you go. That is the document I want you to be focused on, at least for now, because that has, all the changes are highlighted in red.
Okay.
So, again, we changed the pool orientation, we removed the chimney, we relocated the staircase to now be within the dwelling's footprint. We cut back the north retaining wall, we removed the south staircase, relocated the south retaining wall, and then we also changed the size of the proposed bridge. We believe all of these have addressed the concerns of all prior meetings of the board, and this is where we are at this point as far as for the board's consideration.
Okay.
What about with the wetlands? Did you get that wetlands permit from the town?
I do not believe we have a wetlands permit yet.
Okay.
I know,
Is it pending though? You've had,
yes,
okay.
yes, it's pending. I know that Chuck from Land Use was working with the Conservation Department with respect to that, so I know that has been in process now for quite some time, since we've received the letter of non-jurisdiction.
From the DEC?
Yes.
Right, because we had received a letter from the con board back in September that said you needed to apply for the permit.
Correct.
So that's pending.
Yes.
Okay.
But did you get the DEC?
Yes, we have a letter of non-jurisdiction, and we've submitted that, absolutely.
And one of the other things we talked about at the last meeting, I think, was, the non-disturbance area and some of the taller trees that were in the non-disturbance area. I think you guys committed to that you would keep and protect. And I'm assuming that with the conservation permit that you're getting, that's included in that as well.
I can't, I know we have no intention of removing any trees.
Okay.
So the only thing we're seeking to do is add the screening trees that we
Yeah.
had discussed.
I get that.
We have a specific, so there's not only a two-dimensional rendering of the proposed landscaping plan, but we've also submitted, as requested, a three-dimensional imagery showing what we propose it will look like from the street. I think you just passed it.
Yeah.
Right there. So
Yep.
that is how it would look from the street, from as many angles that we can possibly produce. I know that was a concern because obviously it's a dead-end street with views of Shinnecock Bay. We had discussed it, that if people want to walk, that we're not seeing the structure and the building to be something to be obtuse with respect to the visuals as they walk down to the beach. And I think, if, you know, when we do this plan with respect to landscaping, we'll be screened more than any other property on the street.
You've sufficiently demonstrated that, I think.
Yes.
No question.
Okay.
All right. I know, Kevin, has been yours, and we've been at this for a long time. No, I just, just got this stuff tonight, and I don't know whether you're gonna have to come back. I don't believe you will, but I do want the opportunity to take a look at this material and study it and make sure that it corresponds with what my notes were that needed to be done. So that's my only hesitation. Has anybody else got a hesitation?
Well, it's not directed at you, and it should not be construed as an offense, but when we get something the day of, I like to take the time to go through it and look at it and not feel like I'm getting jammed into a decision. So, I don't know how we handle that, but
I think you should wait to hear from the Conservation Board too. I mean, you're gonna have to no
This is
matter
true.
what, but
Thank you.
again.
This gives us an opportunity to take a look at it before the Conservation Board.
Yeah, I feel much better about doing
Well,
that.
particularly, like I said, I don't, James, you'll have to talk to whoever's handling it, but the letter from Harry back in September had concerns. It says something like, as current project plans would require the granting of significantly lesser wetland construction setbacks than the minimum 100 feet wetland building setback, it is highly unlikely the current redevelopment proposal would be wetland permitted. So it makes more sense for you to just wait. So hopefully, it's gonna be
Yes.
resolved, but I would hate for you to close it.
Yep.
Well, so you want to keep it open?
Yes.
At this point?
I think you should have one
Just
more hearing.
adjourn,
Once
right.
they
But,
have something from Conboard.
okay, so do we have an estimate when that time would be?
I know, Rocco, do you know when we expect a decision from the Conservation Department?
I mean, that's out of my wheelhouse there, but, the DEC did a non-jurisdiction on it, so some of those statements that were made were false about the dock and everything else, because the DEC wouldn't have issued a non-jurisdiction if the dock was failed and things like that. So we made some modifications to the plans based on Chuck from Land Use that asked me to relocate the pool. So there's, I guess, that 100-foot buffer or whatever. So we did what we had to do, so that stuff is out of Marty Shea's jurisdiction. So there is actually no structure in his jurisdiction anymore. And that by moving that pool underneath that house, it reduces our lot coverage and everything else. So we've done everything that's possible to do on that house, and I don't feel that a denial is anywhere possible with the work that we've done with it and with the state approval that there is nothing wrong with the bulkhead and they don't have jurisdiction on it. So it's just a matter of semantics and whatever time that someone needs to, get this thing pushed through.
Okay.
And again, I thank Rocco for clarifying, because that is exactly the reason why we drew that line on the proposed plans and on the survey. So now we have that line of demarcation that we're calling our limit line with respect to making sure that we're outside of the jurisdiction. And that's why you see how, if you do a comparison from the old plans to the new plans, you'll see how there's a change of the shape of the pool specifically, and an angle of the pool specifically, so that we can be outside of that area.
Yep.
Okay, and they have all these new plans that you just submitted to us tonight. Is that true?
Yes,
Yes.
I think I submitted them, I dropped them off last week.
All right, but you
So
know,
the conservation board, do they have the
they
revised
have-
pool and everything?
Conservation Board's had it for months now. It was submitted probably, I don't know, 8 weeks ago.
Right, well, we just
And
got it.
obviously, these changes, the only change that you guys have not seen is the pool. All the other changes were noted at the last board meeting where we removed the stairs and the walls and all that other stuff that was at the last meeting. So only thing that really truly has changed from that last meeting is the orientation of the pool. And that was based on the consultant with Chuck from Land Use, and him advised me it would behoove me to do that because it would just be a lot easier to get through the Conservation Board by staying outside their boundary limit line there. So the non-disturbance line is, I don't know exactly, but say it's a foot or 2 feet from where my pool is. And then the non-disturbance goes all the way down to the functional dock that we have that's existing at the water line.
Okay.
all right, so what we could do is, do you want to adjourn this as opposed?
Well, then
hold
it's,
it over?
I mean, then it's up to you. If it seems like, you know, you feel like you're outside of the conservation board jurisdiction and you'll get a letter of non-jurisdiction, or they're not gonna have a problem because of the pool, then it's up to you guys. If you wanna review the plans and discuss them again, or if you just, that's up to you.
Well, my sense is this has been on our agenda for so long. I would like to move on this at some point. And if we get something from the Conservation Board that says you have to make these, and these changes, then we have to reopen it. But I think what I would like to do is put it on for decision with the idea that
And
we're gonna.
if we have to bump
If
it,
we have
we
to
bump
bump
it.
it, we
Okay.
bump it, or we reopen it, depending upon what happens with the Conservation Board. But I just feel like this has been on the docket for so long. Let's move along.
I agree, Susan.
Agreed.
So, to steal a line from John earlier in the day, the list of issues now we're grappling with are coverage, 1.5% coverage exceedance.
No,
No coverage?
no coverage exceedance. So when we initially filed the application, there was a request to go beyond
Yeah.
lot coverage. However, that was recalculated,
Okay.
so we are now below lot coverage.
Below the coverage.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. So
Yeah,
we-
so what is the relief you are now seeking? Let's make
Thank
a
you.
laundry list of the
So
relief
na-
you're now
Now it's
seeking.
just the setback reliefs.
Okay,
So there is no lot coverage relief anymore.
so let's see, let's go through what's advertised. So the front yard setback from 16 to 15.2, that still exists?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Accessory distance from front lot line 50 feet to 16.2
That's
for the proposed
13.3
pool?
now.
It's what?
13.3,
Okay.
or that's what Art's memo says.
Yes.
Okay.
There's no pyramid issue,
That is correct.
right?
Don't have the retaining wall anymore, right? Or no,
Nope.
a 10-foot, that's gone, right? The decorative wall's gone.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything other than,
Just a point of clarification, or just a point to me, James, you may want to talk to Art Gerhouse about that. Because his memo, I apologize, I was supposed to send that to you. His memo,
No, it's a feedback from the.
okay, his memo actually says, I asked him about that. He said you still need relief for that 10-foot high retaining wall, even though you moved it in. So you may want to speak to Art Gerhouse about that.
okay,
Understood.
10-foot high retaining wall?
And that's the retaining wall on the, which side? Did he identify?
No, whatever was advertised initially, he's saying that you still need, so you might want to just
Right.
discuss that with him.
Well, the retaining wall, we removed the accent wall that was supporting the structure, the bridge, we removed that, and we removed the staircase, and I counterlevered the bridge out. So the bridge with the entrance to the front of the house, there is no retaining wall there supporting it. And then the retaining wall on the north side, I just reduced it because the house is buried, right? Because it's a basement basically, because it's a one-story structure basically, and then the back of the house, like whatever 25% of that back of the house is exposed, right? Because the retaining wall on the north side, we have no staircase anymore on the north side as well. The staircase is inside the deck. I reduced the deck size, brought the staircase internally, and that retaining wall is just retaining the soil that's existing on the north side, because the house is nestled into the hillside. So we're on a sloping property, and the house is plugged into that slope. The front of the house is a one-story structure. Obviously, the back of the house is a two-story structure, and the north side of the house is really a one-story structure, and then slopes down that retaining wall. I have to retain that soil going over there.
Okay,
But the
I think
retaining
Wait,
wall
but
is at the
hold on.
existing grade.
Hold on,
Rocco,
Rocco.
hold on a second. I understand that. I was just specifically saying that to James here because the memo from the building department says that he still needs relief for it. So I just wanted him to clarify if he does not, he can get something additional in writing for the board.
Okay.
That was all.
Okay, so is there anything else, other than the 16 to 15 feet, the 50 feet to 13.3, potentially the 10-foot retaining wall? Is there any other relief that you need at this point?
Well, we are on the water, right? So we do have 2 front yard relief requests that we initially submitted.
I
Right,
think
you've
it's the
got,
overall
you've got a
side
front yard
setback, right?
setback from 16 feet to 15.2. You've got a front lot line setback from 50 feet to now 13.3. Those are those two, they're both front line. There's the potential of the retaining wall, but then the question is there anything beyond that that we're not thinking about right now, that relief that you need?
Is
So
it the
we can-
overall side yard setback? Because, I mean, it's a corner lot, so I don't know, is it considered a side yard setback? That would be the only question I would have. Because you
Well,
have 2
didn't
front
have-
yards, right?
You didn't have side yard setback relief in the advertisement, so I'm
Well,
not.
I believe
Because it's considered a front yard, right? Because it's a corner lot.
correct.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we did not need side yard relief on
Because it's 2 front yards.
the north side of the property. We were within our
Okay,
our
so the-
limitations.
So is it fair to say that this is it? This is what you need?
Yes.
Candace says yes.
I mean, it's all
Okay.
advertised.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all it's
Okay,
advertised
because, we don't like people coming back. So let's make sure that if there's a written submission you need to do in between, that you do that on a timely basis so that we have, but, all right, 3 things. Okay, Kevin, let's move this along.
Well, we have
So maybe a person in the.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. Would you like to be heard? Okay, please come. Okay, please, I know I've sworn you in, just please restate your name.
Hold on a second, we just need a microphone. Because we've been moving them all over the place. Take them all, pass them on.
Okay. One for James, too.
Oh.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we are running really late, so we are gonna try to keep you to the.
Okay, Ms. Kern, you know.
Oh, are we timing?
Okay,
The submissions throughout, including today, are both misleading and deceiving. The size of the property is yet again overstated. Images, as were previous, are not based in reality and not drawn to scale. The overall context remains a proposed development that is 80-foot long by approximately 25-foot high and 25-foot wide, akin to a warehouse or distribution center with the length and height of a big box retailer. Again, 80-foot long and more than 3 stories tall. It fails to meet any of your ZBA criteria,
3
none.
stories tall. Such a fucking retard.
It's not Rocco.
Oh, we
None.
can hear you. Please mute, Rocco.
It fails to meet any of your ZBA criteria, none. Additionally, it is the definition of a self-created hardship, purchasing by far the smallest of the 23 properties in the immediate area. They want to build a home of 2,000 square foot on 1/5 of an acre property. It does not have wetlands and conservation approvals or permits. Therefore, any forward movement is disallowed. It fails.
until they receive them, yeah.
They have a failed bulkhead which is breached, and read the letter from the town of the wetlands. It does not, it fails to meet the Southampton Town Pyramid and Sky Plane Law, which states that for a 24-foot-high home, the structure itself must be at a minimum 24 foot from the property line. 19 Bay is proposed to be 24 to 25 feet high, but 13 feet from 17 Bay, which is our property, and 7 feet from the street. So they're talking about other variances, but somehow those are lost, that they ask for variances on both sides of the property. According to Southampton Town Code, a freestanding wall is considered and regulated as a fence. That means any masonry, stone, or similar structure must follow the exact same height and placement regulations as traditional fencing, which is 4 feet or 6 feet, not 25 feet. The images of 10 to 12 foot tall Leyland cypresses, which have up to 12-foot correlating circumferences shown as completely bordering the property, are not based in reality. It's completely deceiving and misleading, but they look nice, don't they? Don't believe your eyes. As with previous submissions, they are attempting to put lipstick on a pig. Don't be fooled. It's not possible for them to have these cypresses they show. It's just not reality. What about stormwater runoff? Has a study been done? If not, why not? It seems one is required. What about a kinematical study? This is both necessary and imperative, given this is a bayfront property, in addition to its extreme proximity to us, the neighbors at 17 Bay. What about shoring the home, if and when construction would begin? Is this under consideration, and is it required? If not, why not? What about the denaturalization, naturalizing of the property? The removal of pretty much every thriving mature tree and shrub on the 19 Bay property? And what about the approximate 30 mature trees and shrubs on the border, on our side of the property? What happens to all the natural habitat? What protection do we have if and when demolition, excavation, and construction would begin? Our home was built in 1938 and is on a cinder block foundation. Our properties here are on sand. Why would any variances even be considered, which places the proposed development closer than the required minimum of at least 20 foot, or 24 to 25 feet if you consider the pyramid law? Who is liable? Who's liable for any damages incurred to our property? Our trees, shrubs, and our home itself. Is it you, the town? Seemingly it would be if variances are granted. Is there any consideration given with regard to the 19 Bay owners disregarding their property and our block? They don't mow. They went years without mowing, and in recent years mow once a year, if at all. They don't have regular garbage pickup, so garbage is regularly strewn about their yard, which has included a toilet in the yard, rusted out pipes, machinery, broken sheetrock, broken lumber, and so on. The owners, I believe, have been to the property one time in the past 5 years, as unbelievable as that sounds. Additionally, we are aware that they were in arrears, not paying years of property taxes to the town. What consideration do you, the town zoning board, give to the fact that the 19 Bay owners, while seeming to be lovely people, are the worst possible neighbors one could have, and ones who have a complete and total disregard for their property, their neighbors, the block, immediate neighbor, and the community as a whole? Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you,
Take it all to the bank. My wife couldn't make it, but she has
letter to submit.
Okay.
And a copy for each of you, and I think
Thank
for
you.
James also.
Okay, thank you. All right, so,
May I ask the board, would you like me to go through the 5 factors?
No.
We close?
I
Okay.
think we've done that.
we have,
So we've been here way too many times in this.
yes. Okay, Kevin, let's move this
Okay, I am, what did we decide? We're gonna adjourn until when?
No.
No, we're gonna.
7:16,
We're
8:6,
gonna-
8.
We're gonna
Close
the hearing,
Wait
take
for
comments, and then,
submission.
right, and then, all
Comments,
right,
yes,
very
okay.
good, thank you. Sorry for my brain failure. All right, so I'm gonna make a motion to close the application of 19 Bay Drive LLC, accept written comments until 7/17, with the decision on August 6th.
Second.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane? Aye. Mr. Mastoni?
Aye.
Mr. Repin?
Aye.
Repin? And I vote aye. Okay, so you got it. Decision on
Bahadamas.
August 2nd.
Thank you very much,
Follow
members
the
of the board.
Conservation Board.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, but we,
Yeah.
assuming that we get Conservation Board, we don't have to reopen. Okay,
Understood.
okay.
Thank you all, members of the board.
Okay.
Happy
Enjoy the weekend.
Very Fourth of July weekend.
Okay, 4th of July. Sir, have a good weekend.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night. Number 14 on the agenda, application of Chang Gi, 13 Ochre Lane, Shinnecock Hills, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-211-2-20. Katie's not here. Here she comes. On June 4, 2026, by decision number D026053, this board granted variances for a proposed pool with spa. The decision is being amended to correct a scrivener's error, to wit, the date of the site plan.
Second? Do I have to second this?
What is this that
We're
you,
just correcting a scribbler's error.
oh, all right,
Yeah.
where is that? I didn't have that on my sheet. here.
Approved.
Okay, did you do the Scribbers?
You don't have the
error?
amendment?
No, because I didn't get the updated survey. Like, I didn't get the updated agenda, so I didn't prepare it.
Oh, all right, it's not prepared.
It's
We'll
not
adjourn-
prepared.
We'll adjourn
All
it
right.
then.
So we'll just,
I mean, it's just for the date, can
I know, but do you know what it is?
the date on the site plan?
All right. I think
Come back to
this-
that, circle back to that.
Okay, we'll second call that. We'll start with the decisions.
All right, let's start with some of these decisions. Bob,
I go
you're
first.
first, yes.
This is the decision for Joshua and Lori Palu, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-70-2-17.2. This is a minor application for property located at 126 Narrow Lane, Bridgehampton. Applicant requests a variance to construct a swimming pool on a lot burdened by 2 front yards. This application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from Town Code Section 336 that references Town Code 33011 for an accessory distance from the front line setback of 43 feet, where 50 feet is required for a proposed swimming pool, as shown in the survey prepared by Francesco de Domenico, last revised January 5th, 2026. Granted, the foregoing relief is subject to such conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises.
Second.
Mr. Mastoni.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Repin.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Kevin, you're next.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
Mr. Who's the second one?
I was.
John, thank you.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
Do you want to do that first?
Okay, yeah, let's go back to number 14 on the agenda, the application of Chang Gi, 13 Ochre Lane, Shinnecock Hills, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-211-2-20. On June 4, 2026, by decision number D026053, this board granted variances for a proposed pool with spa. This decision is being amended to correct a scrivener's error, to wit, the date of the site plan, which shall now read March 23rd, 2026.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Mastoni.
Aye.
Ms. Kane. Mr. Repin.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald. Ms. Burgess. Aye. Chair votes aye. Okay, now you're up. Kevin.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the application of 1309 Noyak LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-42-3-5. This application is for a property located at 2 Bayview Drive, North Sea. Applicant requests relief to legalize an in-ground swimming pool constructed without the benefit of a building permit. While the board does not condone construction done without permits, it finds that this application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the Town Code, Section 330-11, Residence District Table of Dimensional Regulations for an accessory distance from the front lot line setback of 66 feet where 70 is required to legalize an in-ground swimming pool as shown on a survey prepared by Stephen Barilski, last dated November 7, 2025. The grant of the foregoing relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises.
Second.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane? Aye. Mr. Mastonia?
Aye.
Mr. Redhand?
Aye.
And Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, John R.
I have a problem with his name. Is it Zagorz?
Saraki?
Saraki?
Irish name.
Suffolk County Tax Map 900-167-3-7.4. This application is for a property located at 510 Maple Avenue, South Flanders. Applicant requests variances for a proposed accessory apartment with an existing detached garage where the existing dwelling is modest in size, with the condition that the overclearing of the lot to be addressed by the applicant with the planning board department and application past standards and set forth by New York State town law and the town code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the following provisions of the town code for a proposed accessory apartment within a detached garage. 1, 330-11.2F, special standards for a principal front yard setback of 35.9 feet from the north property line, Holly Place, where 42 feet is required, 70% of the required 60 foot for the dwelling and an accessory distance from front line setback to a 46.6 foot from the north property line, Holly Place, where 49 foot is required, 70% of the required 70 feet. For the swimming pool and 330-11.2G to allow the total floor area, habitable living space of the accessory apartment to be 66%, where a maximum of 35% is permitted. In addition, this board grants relief from the Town Code 330-11 Residential District Table Dimensional Regulations for an accessory distance from front lot line setback of 59 feet from the north property line, Holly Place, where 70 feet is required for the detached garage. These variances are granted as shown on the survey prepared by Kenneth M. Waychuk, land surveyor, dated January 21, 2026, and the floor plans and elevations prepared by Joseph Fischetti, P.E., last dated March 15, 2026. Grant of the foregoing is subject to such conditions and permits as applicable, as acquired, or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises, including prior to the issuance of any certificate for the accessory apartment, the removal or relocation of the shed on the property line to a conforming location as shown on the aforementioned survey, and the applicant must address the overclearing of the premises with the planning board department pursuant to Town Code 330-67A 4A.
Second.
Mr. Redhand?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Mastonia?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay,
Okay, I
John?
have a decision in the modification request for Louis A. Idrovo Urgules, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-260-2-19.1. This request to modify previously granted relief is for property located at 12 Ocean Avenue, Hampton Bays. Applicant seeks to increase the pyramid encroachment granted from 242 cubic feet to 291.15 cubic feet for a proposed cabana. This modification passes the standards set forth in the New York State town law, and the town code. Therefore, ZBA decision number D025069 dated June 5, 2025 is hereby amended to grant relief from Town Code Section 330-84D Pyramid Law for a total sky plane encroachment of 291.15 cubic feet for a proposed cabana as shown on the pyramid diagram elevations prepared by August Muff R.A., last revised May 5, 2026. All other provisions of D025069 remain in full force and effect.
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane? Aye. Mr. Macedonia?
Aye.
Mr. Redhand?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, last one. I have a decision in the matter of John J. McKenna Jr., Suffolk County Tax Map 900-5-5-41. This application is for property located at 40 Chestnut Street, Noyak. Applicant seeks a variance for proposed second-story addition to a detached garage and to the dwelling. After feedback from this board with respect to the proposed addition to the dwelling, applicant reduced the height of the building and roof pitch, thereby decreasing the encroachment from 2,091 cubic feet to a total of 1,196 cubic feet, with 250 cubic feet existing. As modified, this application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for proposed second-story addition and an addition to a detached garage on a non-conforming lot. 1, for the house addition, Section 330-84D height, pyramid law, for a sky plane encroachment to the north of 941 cubic feet, 252 cubic feet existing, plus the 689 cubic feet proposed, and to the south of 507 cubic feet. For the detached garage addition, Section 330-84D, a sky plane encroachment to the east of 320 cubic feet, as shown on the survey prepared by Gary Benz, last dated November 25th, 2025, and elevations and pyramid diagrams prepared by David H. Sherwood, last dated March 27, 2026. Grant of the foregoing is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of subject premises, including 1, the installation of landscape screening as shown on the proposed landscape screening plan prepared by South Fork Environmental Consulting LLC, dated May 24, 2026, prior to any issuance of certificates for the proposed addition, and 2, the continued maintenance of such screening by the applicant and all successors entitled.
Second.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
No.
Mr. Macedonio?
Aye.
Mr. Redhand? Mr.
Oh,
McDonald?
I'm sorry. No.
Ms. Burgess?
No.
Chair votes aye. Okay. So there were 3 noes.
Motion to close?
Second.
Close. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Katie.
Katie.